Greetings, dear listeners. This evening, we embark on a journey into the opulent, outrageous, and sometimes rather questionable chambers of medieval nobility, where ambition, desire, be in a complete disregard for limits intertwined in the most dramatic ways. Before you settle in, I invite you to take a moment to show your appreciation by liking the video and subscribing, but only if you truly find joy in the tales I share here. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always intriguing to discover the diverse places joining us from across the globe. Now, let's lower the lights, perhaps switch on a fan to create that gentle background hum, and prepare to embark on tonight's adventure together. King John of England, often referred to as John Lackland, and humorously dubbed the worst dinner guest in British history, is most famously known for his role in signing the Magna Carta, his loss of half of France, and his remarkable ability to be scandalously inappropriate with many of the nobility's daughters. John's reign, from 1199 to 1216, serves as a vivid example of the pitfalls of public office conduct, a tale of political misfortune. In my view, it feels even more challenging. John didn't merely engage with lovers. He embraced them fully. He gained infamy for abducting noble women, locking them away in grand castles, and regaling them with tales until they were either wed to others or faded into obscurity. His preferred method for dismantling influential families was not through combat, but rather by charming the wife, isolating the husband, and subsequently imposing double taxes on him, streamlined. The chroniclers found themselves deeply unsettled by John's conduct, to the point where even the typically partial medieval scribes, who often turned a blind eye to witch trials and floggings, felt compelled to document that he was not restrained in his dealings with women and did not refrain from wives and daughters. That's a tale of yore where he turned the Christmas gathering into a scene of great discomfort. At one time, it is said that John had 30 mistresses documented in the annals of his life. What a twist. It seems we're not in the realm of romance, but rather navigating the complexities of staffing challenges. A number of nobles approached the crown with grievances, delicately expressing that John was taking advantage of their generosity, which, in simpler terms, meant he had been entangled with nearly everyone, from the serving staff to perhaps even the family goat. His antics were so outrageous that they almost sparked an uprising, not due to taxes or battles, because half the barons feared leaving their wives unguarded during the king's visits. One baron, with an air of intrigue, insisted that John could only be granted an audience if his entire household was secured behind closed doors first. Ah, the art of negotiation as practiced in the 13th century. And so, in a manner befitting royalty, John remained blissfully unaware of any troubles that lay before him. He believed he was utterly captivating. While his letters may be the only source of proof, one must remember that when you wear the crown, a touch of delusion is part of the package. Ultimately, King John departed from this world, leaving a realm steeped in chaos, a heritage marked by suspicion, perhaps a few offspring whispered about in the shadows of the court. He was the sort of ruler who inspired his subjects to create democracy, all in an effort to shield their families from his reign. Not the most terrible ruler in the annals of time, yet certainly the one you'd never trust with your little ones. Once upon a time, in the realm of France, there reigned a king known as Charles VI. Or as some whispered, Charles the Mad. His reign stretched from the year 1380 to 1422, a period marked by both splendor and turmoil. Indeed, that moniker was rightfully acquired, not bestowed casually amidst the revelry of a boisterous feast. He embarked on his reign filled with potential, youthful, striking, and skilled. And so, the tale took an unexpected twist. He began to lose sight of his own identity, turning against his loyal knights, and at one moment, he was convinced he was composed of glass, demanding that his servants swathe him in blankets to prevent him from breaking as he moved. While it may not embody the traditional image of regal might, it certainly captivates with its remarkable flair for imaginative unease. In the realm of royalty, those who see themselves as delicate glass figurines often tread carefully, steering Clear of scandal, not Charles. He deftly juggled a royal mistress, a paranoid delusion, and civil war all at once. A true master of multitasking. In a realm where chaos reigned, Isabeau of Bavaria, his devoted wife, endeavored to maintain order. At court, meanwhile, Charles, in a fit of peculiar antics, would often flee in terror from mirrors and shun the bath. Convinced that the water held the power to dissolve his very being in the shadows of the grand palace, his mistress Odette de Chambray, divers, was seamlessly woven into the fabric of court life, presented to all as his solace, a phrase cloaked in the whispers of the past, urging silence and smiles in equal measure. Odetta, unwavering in her loyalty, remained by Charles's side through his most tumultuous times. She must have possessed an extraordinary patience or the regal authority of a monarch, with gentle hands. She tended to his hair, lending an ear to his whimsical musings about glass, and assisted him in donning several layers of soft padding, ensuring he could settle down with ease. Nothing embodies fervor quite like securing your regal beloved in a cushiony embrace. Yet, Charles's eccentricity wasn't confined to the shadows of his home. He also orchestrated court entertainments where chaos ensued and everything spiraled out of control. In a tale steeped in legend, there was a notorious occasion called the Belle des Ardents, where he and his companions donned costumes of wild men, igniting the night with their torches as they danced with reckless abandon. In a tragic turn of events, a single spark ignited chaos, leading to the harrowing fate of several souls consumed by the flames. Charles emerged from the ordeal, yet the essence of his dignity lay in tatters. In the midst of it all, Charles brought forth 12 children, some conceived during moments of seeming clarity, or at the very least, a semblance of it. The royal chronicles remain silent on whether he recalled their names. Yet one might infer that bestowing a name upon a child not crafted from glass was frowned upon. Charles VI presided over France's descent into chaos, yet his reign was marked by an extraordinary blend of mental turmoil. Royal intrigue and the flamboyance of medieval spectacle, weaving a narrative that was both tragic and darkly humorous, and in a twist of fate, they allowed him to don the crown. In the realm of Castile, there once reigned a figure known as Peter the Cruel, or perhaps Pedro the Just, a title that shifted like shadows depending on one's proximity to his favor or the depths of his wrath. His rule spanned from 1350 to 1369. It's a time marked by the stark contrasts of loyalty and fear. His notion of romance danced between regal allure, fervent possessiveness, and the sporadic shadow of a politically troublesome demise. His early love, life unfolded more like a tale of misadventures than a classic romance. He found himself captivated by a noble woman named Maria de Padla. With whispers of a secret marriage swirling around them, the element of secrecy plays a crucial role, particularly as he was being wed to other women for the sake of alliances, creating a rather uncomfortable situation. Among those women was Blanche of Bourbon, a noblewoman from France whom he wed, only to confine her in a castle just 3 days later. She found herself confined for the remainder of her days, all because Peter deemed Maria's hair more beautiful. Or perhaps it was simply that he couldn't stand Blanche's accent in any case. It was a bold and striking kind of disappearance, Maria. In the meantime, transformed into the focal point of his every thought and desire. Even as he took other brides, she held a special place in his heart. Upon her passing, Peter was said to have mourned deeply for days on end. In a twist that left many bewildered, he decreed that she be recognized as his legal wife retroactively, perhaps to add an air of mystery and to rationalize the reality that she had already borne him for children. Yet Peter's fervor extended beyond unexpected annulments and the intrigue of royal abductions. He was infamous for his passionate, tumultuous romances, a reality far from the realm of poetry. It carries a certain peril. One of his mistresses, Donna Juana, sought to break free from his grasp. In the end, she was discovered in fragments, much like a number of his political foes and relatives, and sometimes even those who happened to meet his gaze at an inopportune time. In the annals of history, there are tales of Peter who, from the comfort of his balcony, would gaze upon the grim spectacle of executions, all while in the company of a mistress, indulging in the peculiar blend of leisure and macabre.
That's
Not an endearing character. It's a character from HBO, driven by their whims and lacking restraint. Yet, amidst all the intrigue, the Castilian court was always a place of fascination. Whispers danced through the air like a fine vintage, and Peter's connections wove a tapestry where desire intertwined with rivalry. His vision of love was painted, with the wild strokes of unexpected weddings, abrupt separations, and the rare, shocking twist of a sudden betrayal. In a twist of fate, Peter met his end at the hands of his own half-brother, a poignant moment that echoed the complexities of their familial bonds. Yet his legacy, as one of Europe's most fiercely unromantic romantics, endures. If love is a battlefield, Peter arrived armed for conquest. Edward II of England reigned from 1307 to 1327, and his legacy is marked by two notable events: his defeat by the Scots at Bannockburn, and his deep affection for his male favorites, which often overshadowed his relationship with his queen. One of those actions was deemed an act of betrayal. The other sparked lively debate around the dinner table. Once upon a time, there was Piers Gaveston, a cherished companion of Edward, whose bond with the prince sparked whispers of romance, while he dazzled the court with his unmatched sense of style. Piers shared a bond with Edward that went beyond mere closeness. He ascended to heights of absurd power, bestowed with grand estates, illustrious titles, and jewels that, quite frankly, clashed with his attire. At Edward's coronation, Piers dazzled with a brilliance that eclipsed even the royal regalia, stealing the spotlight from the queen herself, a daring maneuver when one's very existence hinges on the favor of the nobility. Alas, their feelings for him were far from warm. Isabella of France, Edward's wife, was filled with righteous anger. She arrived with lofty political aspirations and a substantial dowry, neither of which accounted for the prospect of sharing the throne with her husband's closest friend, who might also be something more. Yet Edward's loyalty never wavered. As the nobles clamored for Piers' exile, Edward, in a fit of sulking, cast him away, only to summon him back almost immediately, much like the heart-wrenching tale of young love lost, yet set against a backdrop of grand castles and the clash of crossbows. In the end, the barons could bear it no longer and brought about Piers' execution. Edward found himself engulfed in despair. Imagine a grand spectacle of chaos and drama. Garments of sorrow, tears shared. In the open, a grand tale of medieval drama. His sorrow, however, did not inspire a journey within. A new favorite emerged. Hugh Despenser the Younger, taking center stage in the tale, Hugh transformed Piers into a mere whisper in the margins of a grand tale. He was more than merely Edward's advisor. He was, in essence, the rightful heir to the throne. Territory, ownership, whole regions. Hugh acquired them. Anger simmered among the rest of the nobility. At this juncture, Isabella transformed from a merely irritated spouse into a fierce embodiment of retribution. In a daring alliance with a rival of Edward, she set forth to invade England, ultimately toppling her own husband from power. In a dark twist of fate, Edward found himself behind bars, his regal title taken from him, and whispers of a gruesome end by a searing poker lingered in the shadows. Indeed, that tale has circulated. But let us not wander into the realm of physics just yet. In the realm of the past, vengeance took on a form that was anything but discreet. Edward II's reign unfolded like a gripping tale, filled with personal drama so intense it could rival any reality show. If the Plantagenets had access to Netflix, this season would have faced bans in 3 nations. What was his blunder? Blending fervor with authority, dismissing the opinions of others, and embracing a sense of sovereignty that suggested he was untouchable. It appears that all were capable. In due time, in the late 14th century, when Suslaus of Bohemia held the throne, though one might argue that held is a rather generous description of his reign, though he bore grand titles such as King of the Romans and King of Bohemia, His true legacy was woven from threads of public nudity, boisterous drinking, and brawls ignited within the very walls of his palace. If you're envisioning the noble King Wenceslas from the Christmas Carol, you're mistaken. That was a figure from his lineage, this Wenceslas. Alas, it leaves much to be desired. Far from satisfactory, he embarked on his journey with great potential. A young prodigy, adorned with intelligence, fluency in many tongues, and remarkable abilities. Yet, at some point in his journey, he chose to believe that the royal wine cellar held greater value than the treasury, and thus began to rule from the depths of a goblet. Wenceslas became known for his legendary gatherings that stretched over several days, where amidst the flowing mead and cheeky limericks, important policy decisions were crafted and debated. His advisors took to carrying flasks, not for the sake of indulgence but as a means to endure the trials of negotiation. In the grand halls of the court, discussions frequently culminated in dramatic flair, with tables being flipped in frustration, or noble souls daring each other to settle disputes with breadstick duels. He cultivated the delightful quirk of dashing through the castle, occasionally interrupting meetings with his unexpected appearances. One chronicler recounts the tale of Wenceslas, who boldly proclaimed royal edicts in the nude, save for a sword belt that adorned his waist. What was his reasoning? His garments are for the faint of heart? It's difficult to dispute such reasoning, especially when the one wearing the crown wields a long sword and is lacking in trousers in matters of the heart. He found himself drawn to barmaids, laundresses, and now and then the wives of nobles. Yet it appeared his true passion lay more in their suggestions for ale than in their emotions. At his court, affairs unfolded with a certain decorum, lacking any hint of scandal. They felt like grand auditions for a role yet to be played. A nobleman charged him with the enchanting of his sister. With a casual shrug, Wenceslas extended a drink to him, a gesture steeped in camaraderie. In due course, the Holy Roman Empire reached a consensus that they could no longer tolerate his royal vodka, leading to his removal from the position of King of the Romans, a diplomatic euphemism for a dismissal. Cloaked in the guise of political maneuvering, even his own brother deemed him worthless, stripped bare and often in a state of oblivion. Yet Wenceslas managed to hold the reins of power in Bohemia for many years. His people endured him much like one endures a boisterous relative at a celebration, complete with exasperated glances, meticulous arrangements, and an abundance of drinks. Ultimately, he departed from a wobbly realm, a drenched wine cellar, and a regal heritage that could be encapsulated as a reign where each day felt like the aftermath of a wild celebration. Henry VIII of England embodies the tumultuous clash of unbridled authority and fervent passions. From the year 1509 to 1547, he reigned a time marked by a series of marriages, divorces, and a growing frustration with the Pope, who seemed less than supportive of his rather dubious romantic choices. You've come across the tale. Divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Yet that only hints at the depths of Henry's enchanting tale where a royal romantic comedy twists into a chilling horror saga. Once upon a time, there was Catherine of Aragon, the first wife in a tale of love and intrigue. After 2 decades of wedded life, Henry came to the unsettling conclusion that divine wrath was upon him for failing to produce a male heir. In the unfolding narrative, the answer lay not in self-reflection, but rather in the decisive actions of annulment, excommunication, and the birth of a completely new church. He crafted Anglicanism merely to pursue another's affection. See his devotion as merely a display of pettiness, adorned like a grand cathedral. Behold the arrival of Anne Boleyn, the second bride in this tale. Henry penned her love letters, brimming with fervor, fixation, and an abundance of clumsy verse. She bestowed upon him a daughter, Elizabeth, destined to rise as one of England's most illustrious monarchs, yet no sons were granted. This culminated in her apprehension for infidelity, sorcery, and perhaps even casting a disapproving glance in the court's direction. Her head was severed from her body. Henry progressed with the emotional depth of a starchy tuber. Jane Seymour came next, bringing forth a son, Edward, only to meet a tragic fate due to complications from childbirth. Henry grieved her loss profoundly, taking a solemn 11 days. before he began to seek out his next bride. Then entered Anne of Cleves, selected by Henry after being captivated by a charming portrait. In person, he remarked that she resembled a Flanders mare. That union endured for just 6 months, concluding in what we might refer to today as a no-fault divorce, accompanied by a thoughtfully composed Yelp review. Catherine Howard, the fifth wife, was notably younger and far less reserved. She met her end for the sin of infidelity, yet one can't help but feel a twinge of understanding for her plight. At that juncture, sharing life with Henry involved navigating the challenges of gout, a tinge of paranoia, and a man whose steps were labored. Yet he remained convinced of his allure to women. At last we meet Catherine Parr, the sixth wife, who skillfully navigated her way through the tumultuous waters of her marriage, outliving him with her sharp mind, remarkable patience, and a talent for evading blame. When Henry took his final breath, he had plunged England into bankruptcy, devoured a significant portion of its livestock, and transformed the royal court into a dramatic spectacle where heads were lost more frequently than wedding rings were exchanged. In essence, Henry VIII embraced love with fervor, governed with an iron fist, and created a saga of intrigue so remarkable that it continues to inspire musicals to this day. Francis I of France, who reigned from 1515 to 1547, was a living testament to the spirit of the Renaissance, refined, charismatic, elegant, and utterly unable to maintain the integrity of his attire. In his honor, one must acknowledge his remarkable support for the arts. He extended an invitation to Leonardo da Vinci, constructed splendid palaces, and played a pivotal role in transforming France into a beacon of culture. Yet as the painters immersed themselves in their vibrant strokes and the poets wove their lyrical spells, Francis was engaged in the art of enchantment, captivating all who bore a heartbeat and a name. His court was renowned, or perhaps notorious, for its lavishness, yet it also served as a sort of government-sponsored matchmaking service. He surrounded himself with gentlewomen of the bedchamber, a phrase that was meant to signify ladies-in-waiting, yet in truth, it referred to a romantic shortlist. Whole political alliances unraveled when Francis, in a twist of fate, found himself entangled with the ambassador's wife. And this was not a mere whisper of betrayal. Francis made sure everyone heard him. He once proclaimed to foreign dignitaries that French kings were meant to be exceptional lovers, a statement that carries a certain grandeur until one considers it was uttered by a man who regarded treaties and mistresses with equal disregard, treating both as fleeting affairs. Among his many entanglements, none captured the imagination quite like his liaison with Françoise de Foix. A noblewoman who held the esteemed title of his official mistress, she possessed a sharp wit and a wealth of knowledge, making her the sole woman capable of playfully challenging him in front of others and emerging unscathed. In time, she was succeeded, as one might expect, by an de Pizzolo da Halia name that echoes like a whimsical jest from the past. This remarkable woman wielded political clout that was rivaled only by her remarkable knack for enduring the trials of her rivals. Even those who opposed him couldn't help but take notice. Once the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V, remarked that Francis posed a greater threat in the bedroom than he did on the battlefield. His words were laced with disdain. Francis likely embraced it as a mark of honor. Amidst the swirling affairs, lavish banquets, and the delicate dance of diplomatic flirtation, Francis deftly wielded his power, ruling with an undeniable effectiveness. Despite the high costs of his battles and his extravagant preferences in women, the man was undeniably filled with fervor. His reign unfolded like a tapestry woven with threads of silk, laced with scandal and infused with the lingering scent of second-hand perfume. Francis I was not merely a king. He embodied France's most alluring historical risk, and truthfully, he relished every moment of it. Alfonso XI of Castile, who reigned from 1311 to 1350, had a singular passion that rivaled his duties as a monarch: the art of publicly neglecting his wife in the most lavish and ostentatious manner imaginable. His unfortunate, politically savvy wife was Maria of Portugal, noble and well-connected. Yet she was not the one Alfonso truly cherished. Leonor de Guzman held his heart. Leonor, a noblewoman of Castile, possessed a keen intellect, bore 11 children and wielded such influence that she could effectively govern the court on her own. In contrast to Maria, she found her worth not in a crown, but in the all-consuming and unabashed devotion of Alfonso. In the realm of royalty, it was common for kings to have their fair share of mistresses. Alfonso transformed her into a figure cloaked in darkness, a queen of shadows. He crafted grand palaces for Leonor, bestowed upon her vast lands, and whisked her away to distant places. In the midst of grand royal gatherings, Queen Maria found herself perched like an overlooked ornament, while Alfonso, with his gaze fixed across the hall, cast smitten looks at his companion, who was brazenly unreserved in her attention. To add another layer to the tale, whether it be a twist of fate or a stroke of fortune, Leonor was far more than a mere mistress. She moved through the political landscape with grace, weaving treaties, earning respect, and bringing forth heirs as if it were her destined craft. Truth be told, it certainly had that quality. Alfonso turned his back on the notion that Maria held any significance in his world. He shared a fleeting moment with her, a mere whisper of interaction, crafted solely for the sake of appearances in the grand tapestry of diplomacy. After that, he withdrew to Leonor's estate, much like a man who recoils from the weight of marital duties. Maria's father, the King of Portugal, found this quite troubling. There came a moment when the fabric of international relations frayed, so dangerously that the specter of war loomed ominously on the horizon. Picture a scenario where your in-laws are so enraged by your affair that they contemplate a response akin to military action. Yet, Alfonso remained unfazed. He persisted in showcasing Leonor at court as if she were a prized possession, and likely would have done so for eternity, had the Black Death not claimed his life in 1350 indeed. It was a true calamity that brought his clandestine romance to a close. With Alfonso's passing, Queen Maria seized her long-awaited opportunity. She orchestrated the imprisonment and execution of Leonor, a decision that historians label as vengeful, while many would deem it strikingly just. While Alfonso's reign might be marked by military triumphs, the truth is more nuanced. His genuine legacy lay in being one of the most publicly chastised monarchs of the medieval era. Once upon a time, in the realm of France, there reigned a monarch, known as Philip IV, or as some would call him, Philip the Fair. But let it be known, this title did not reflect his character. His reign spanned from the year 1285 to 1314. His moniker was a reflection of his striking appearance, a charm that was regrettably overshadowed by his less than admirable conduct. On the surface, Philip presented himself as devout, earnest, and wholly dedicated to the cause of moral improvement. Within the confines of his mind, he orchestrated a realm that resembled a high-stakes drama, filled with treachery, clandestine judgments, and a generous sprinkle of hypocrisy, particularly when it came to matters of the heart. His most notorious scandal was the Tour de Nesle affair, a medieval sex scandal so tangled it could have been penned by a master of drama. Once upon a time, in a realm of intrigue and whispers, young Isabella, daughter of Philip, observed a curious spectacle. Her sisters-in-law, those charming ladies, were engaging in an unusually warm camaraderie with certain knights. It was a friendship that raised eyebrows, gifts exchanged with a flourish, and clandestine meetings in the shadowy towers, all hinting at secrets yet to unfold. Isabella whispered her secrets to Philip, who responded with a grand investigation, as delicate as a sledgehammer crashing through a glass window. In a tale of betrayal and consequence, two princesses, wed to the sons of Philip, faced the harsh judgment of their actions. Found guilty of infidelity, they were cast into the shadows of public imprisonment for years. Their once proud heads were shaved, titles stripped away, and their names forever tarnished, leaving only whispers of their former glory. The two valiant knights in question, subjected to unimaginable suffering, stripped of dignity, and met with a grim fate in the heart of the town. For what could be more emblematic of virtuous guidance than transforming a familial gathering into a grim spectacle of the Dark Ages? And now we arrive at the moment where the tale truly captivates. As Philip doled out harsh punishments with the ease of sharing sweets, whispers danced through the air, suggesting that he harbored a few mistresses hidden away in the secretive chambers of the Louvre. Some murmured tales of a clandestine circle of young women, poised to delight the esteemed guests who graced his presence. For the art of negotiation, naturally. Yet in contrast to his daughters-in-law, the king's private matters remained beyond scrutiny. For when you hold the pen that scripts the narrative, it's remarkable how transgression transforms into a calculated move. Philip possessed a remarkable talent for invoking religion at just the right moments. He pursued the Knights Templar, cloaking his intentions and accusations of heresy. At the whispers among the people revealed the truth. It was their wealth he truly coveted. It was akin to seizing your banker and deeming it a righteous act of fate. Indeed, Philip might have appeared as a paragon of virtue and integrity, yet beneath that chiseled jaw and regal gaze lay a man steeped in duplicity, possessing an intimate understanding of the castle's hidden passages. Sigismund of Luxembourg, a figure of great stature, held titles such as King of Hungary, King of the Romans, and ultimately ascended to the position of Holy Roman Emperor. He was a man who amassed crowns as if they were mere trinkets, much like a connoisseur curates a collection of exquisite wine goblets. But he gathered those as well with great enthusiasm. In the twilight of the 14th century and the dawn of the 15th, there emerged a figure of great intellect and charm. Sigismund, a master of languages and a shrewd navigator of the political landscape, he wielded his knowledge with finesse. His personal life was so scandalous that even the most daring tavern bard would find themselves blushing. Once upon a time, Sigismund found himself united in marriage with the formidable Queen Mary of Hungary, a woman of great strength and influence. Yet, the union with Sigismund felt like a mere courteous ritual. He favored connections that were less conventional, more abundant, and ideally devoid of dialogue. His romantic escapades featured noblewomen, laundresses, and even an Italian opera singer, predating the very existence of opera, showcasing his imaginative flair. Court officials frequently found themselves bewildered by his mistresses, not due to their sheer number, but rather because of how swiftly they came and went. Some historians even propose that they began to assign numbers to keep up with the ever-changing roster. In the grand halls of the court, his mistresses enjoyed their own lavish quarters, attended by devoted servants, and in one extraordinary instance, even a private chapel. This arrangement could be seen as a tale of deep romance or, conversely, a rather scandalous affair, depending on one's perspective about sharing sacred space with a lover. Sigismund possessed a delightful penchant for donning disguises, especially relishing the thrill of masquerading as a commoner and slipping into towns unnoticed. At times it was a matter of intrigue, while at others it served as a charming pretext to engage with the local women, all under the facade of a remarkably tall merchant. It seems that no one raised an eyebrow at this curious sight, even though he was the sole merchant, accompanied by a full retinue of servants, adorned in royal crests, and yet the man reigned for decades, embarked on crusades, convened the Council of Constance, and transformed imperial politics, all while engaging in romantic escapades that would leave even Casanova in awe. "Hold your horses, my friend." Once an ambassador noted that Sigismund extends a warm greeting to all women as equals, particularly in private settings. This notion, while hinting at a certain progressiveness, also carries an air of potential impropriety. Yet, in spite of his many pursuits outside the classroom, Sigismund held a remarkable charm, largely due to his ability to exude an air of royalty. In public, while secretly navigating the most tumultuous romantic escapades across Europe, he was more than an emperor, embodied a singular renaissance, a blend of cunning strategist, astute statesman, and captivating scandal. And in a curious twist of fate, he always managed to slip through the cracks unscathed. In the grand tapestry of history, Louis XV of France, affectionately dubbed Louis the Beloved, reigned from the year 1715 until 1774, and by ruled we mostly. He orchestrated an eternal royal after-party, where governance took a back seat and silk bedsheets were ever present. He began with great potential, youthful and striking, ready to uphold the illustrious legacy of his great-grandfather, Louis XIV. Yet as he entered his 20s, Louis made a choice. The matters of national policy could hold off, for he had a captivating array of ladies in waiting to charm and court. Gather round as we delve into the tale of the Parc aux Cerfs. A quaint abode nestled near Versailles, where Louis held his discreet gatherings, shall we say, for intimate performances. Young women were gathered, often from humble backgrounds, yet striking in appearance. Ushered in quietly and exchanged like the changing of the seasons, in a realm where whispers danced through the halls. One could imagine the palace guards meticulously keeping track of the many mistresses, perhaps even with a clipboard system to manage the intrigue. His most renowned companion, Madame de Pompadour, was far more than a mere beauty. She wielded significant influence, orchestrating the affairs of France from the shadows. Yet, when her enthusiasm for the physical aspect of their bond began to wane, Louis simply replied that it was acceptable and proceeded to create a second harem of his own. What's the reasoning behind it? Retain Pompadour for wit and wisdom. Preserve the Parc aux Cerfs for all other matters. It was a beautifully orchestrated whirlwind. Every girl was bestowed with gifts, titles, and in certain instances, a subtle place to reside once her contract came to an end. In the heart of France, there existed an internship program that, while unofficial, wove together a tapestry of experience and opportunity with an unexpected flair for efficiency. And what of the queen, Marie Leczinska? She lingered in the shadows, a presence felt yet unseen, often overlooked. Once she ceased to bear children, Louis regarded her as if she were a cherished piece of antique furniture. It holds a value that keeps it from being discarded, yet it no longer finds its place within the space. The intrigue at the court had become so commonplace that the nobles no longer inquired about the king's romantic entanglements. They inquired about the count for this week. Even foreign ambassadors whispered in their letters about the ever-changing faces at Versailles. What we have here isn't a monarchy. It's more akin to a brothel, albeit one with fancier attire. In a twist of fate, Louis truly believed himself to be a noble leader. Surrounded by extravagant balls, hidden pregnancies, and the uncomfortable pauses shared with his wife. His reign, though not disastrous, laid the groundwork for his grandson, Louis XVI, who would ultimately meet a grim fate, perhaps due to the elder's penchant for pondering with the wrong crown. Ultimately, Louis XV departed from the scene, leaving a France burdened by debt, a court steeped in disillusionment, and a royal legacy that could be captured as adored by women, yet despised by those who balanced the books. Christian VII of Denmark held the throne from 1766 to 1808, though one might argue that held is a bit too assertive a term, stumbled along the path of existence while others took the reins of governance. Perhaps that captures it better. Once upon a time, there was a character named Christian who found himself entangled in a web of challenges. He battled with profound mental illness, probably schizophrenia, and showed little enthusiasm for the royal duties, unless it included the amusing pursuit of servants wielding cutlery, which he seemed to find utterly hilarious. This transformed him into more of a regal emblem than a ruler. In the tale of Christian, he found himself joined in matrimony to Caroline Matilda of Great Britain, a wise and sensible young woman who yearned for a marriage that embraced the ordinary. What she received was a partner who found solace in public displays of self-pleasure, engaged in conversations with his own hand, and vanished during formal dinners to gallop on invisible steeds through the grand halls of the palace. It remains a mystery which faltered first. Her patience or his hold on the world around him? Behold Johann Friedrich Struensee, the royal healer. With keen intellect and unyielding ambition, Struensee swiftly ascended to the true seat of power in Denmark, while also finding himself in a rather delicate romance with the queen. Indeed, Caroline Matilda embraced the drama of her life, embarking on a passionate affair with her husband's physician, while the king remained blissfully unaware and indifferent. Struensee crafted the laws, penned the edicts, and entertained Christian with puppet shows, sword games, and subtle guidance away from danger. In a tale like no other, there existed a love triangle where one corner merely hummed a tune, lingering in the shadows, adding an unexpected layer to the unfolding drama. Caroline and Struensee shared a child, a figure that might have been recognized as the king's in documents, yet in reality he was far from it. For a time, the duo navigated Denmark with the flair of a daring, avant-garde think tank, yet royal courts seldom embrace a relaxed atmosphere. In time, Christian's envious mother-in-law caught wind of the secret romance and orchestrated a dramatic takeover. Struensee faced a harrowing fate, arrested and subjected to torture before meeting a dramatic end. While Caroline was cast into exile, her reputation left in ruins, Christian found himself once again in a realm of gentle oversight navigating. The remainder of his reign enveloped in a soft, muted quietude. His reign lingers in memory, not for its accomplishments, but for the delightful absurdity that surrounded it, a king presiding over nothing, a queen striving valiantly, and a physician who perhaps overexerted himself in the most curious of ways. History narrates a tale of a constitutional crisis. We refer to it as the most peculiar tale of love in Europe. It's Charles II of England, reigning from 1660 to 1685, returned from exile with a singular mission: to restore joy and revelry, ideally, accompanied by a multitude of mistresses. And so, the tale unfolds with a triumphant twist. The mission has been successfully completed. Having weathered the storm of civil war, taking refuge among the sturdy oak trees, and enduring the harshness of poverty, Charles made his triumphant return to England as king with a flourish. He declared that the nation could benefit from a touch less puritanism and a dash of clothing optional ballroom dancing. With a heavy heart, Parliament came to an agreement. Known as the Merry Monarch, Charles had a multitude of official mistresses, and those are merely the ones that have come to light. Among his most renowned flames was Nell Gwyn, a witty actress, who boldly referred to herself as the Protestant whore, setting herself apart from the other mistresses of the time. Truly a legendary mark of distinction. Then there was Barbara Palmer, known as the Countess of Castlemaine, who was less a mistress and more an enduring presence in the palace. She resided in the opulent royal quarters, where her connection with Charles blossomed into a lively affair, resulting in several children who were bestowed with titles and lands, for what could be more delightful than a touch of playful favoritism? Charles made no effort to hide his intentions. He graced the court events with the presence of his mistresses. He provided them with government pensions. He had a corridor constructed at Whitehall, allowing him to access his bedroom without causing a stir among the ambassadors. In the realm of productivity, one name shines above the rest: Charles. Queen Catherine of Braganza, his steadfast companion, bore it all with a serene grace and perhaps a hidden flask. She had no offspring, and Charles allegedly remarked that she was unable to have children. Yet she never caused me any issues, which serves as both a praise and a warning sign. Charles, a man of grand gestures, brought forth at least 14 children. Outside the bonds of marriage, openly recognizing many of them, he adorned their lives with noble titles and celebrated their birthdays with lavish festivities, weaving a tapestry of legacy and joy in the midst of it all. The rightful lineage found itself without heirs, as though fate were weaving a tale with a twist of irony. Amidst the swirling scandals, Charles maintained a remarkable popularity. He breathed life back into the theaters, embraced merriment with open arms, and reinstated the monarchy with a flourish. Adorned in wigs and sporting more eyeliner than his leading ladies, the people absolved him of all transgressions, largely, because he transformed the monarchy into a grand celebration. As he took his last breath, his parting words echoed with a poignant simplicity: "Let not poor Nellie starve." Not a prayer for England, nor a plea for his brother to govern with wisdom, but a heartfelt request to care for the mistress. And there you have it, dear friends, a glimpse into the life of Charles II. A monarch who ruled as if he were orchestrating the grand finale of a royal bachelor season in the brief span of his rule from 1560 to 1568. Eric XIV of Sweden crafted a tale marked by shadows of paranoia, verses of poetry, in a series of disastrous romantic entanglements that would echo through history. Once upon a time, there was Eric, a figure of great promise, stood tall and handsome, with a passion for astronomy and the arts. He was the kind of king who could craft a love sonnet and over dinner unravel the mysteries of planetary orbits. His fascination with astrology was profound, guiding his every choice as he sought the wisdom of the stars before embarking on any decision. Alas, the celestial bodies never whispered a word of calm to him. Eric was captivated by noblewomen, but not in the delicate, garden-whispering manner one might expect. He made his heartfelt proposals to Queen Elizabeth I of England on several occasions. Each time met with her gracious refusals, first with kindness, then with resolute firmness, and ultimately the profound silence that spoke volumes. Eric, oblivious to the subtle cues, went so far as to send portraits of himself as gifts. It was akin to the 16th century version of slipping into someone's DMs with a shirtless selfie and a marriage proposal. After Elizabeth vanished from his life, Eric adjusted his expectations, aiming for a different kind of connection, one that didn't diminish his spirit. He found himself captivated by Karen Munstaughter, a humble commoner, and the daughter of a jailer. This stirred the ire of the nobility, prompting Eric to entrench himself even further. He took her hand in marriage, adorned her with a crown, then plunged into a tumultuous year filled with emotional turmoil, confining nobles and confronting anyone whose gaze lingered on her a moment too long. What was his most notorious moment? At the Storer murders, a seemingly ordinary dinner party took a dark turn when Eric, in a fit of rage, plunged a knife into a noble. His frantic shouts leaving his courtiers to wonder if the stars had truly driven him mad. At this juncture, he found himself listening to whispers, concealing himself from unseen foes, and at times donning costumes to observe his own advisors. In a dramatic turn of events, the noble class orchestrated a grand intervention, a royal maneuver that culminated in the confinement of the king within the castle walls, while the crown was passed to his brother, marking a pivotal moment in their storied lineage. Eric found himself confined for the remainder of his days, pouring his heart into strange love poems dedicated to Karen, interspersed with fervent tirades about hidden plots, all while likely lamenting the fateful moment he plunged a knife into that man during dinner. From the era of Eric's rule, Sweden gathered valuable insights. Always be wary of your dinner guests, for they may conceal sharp intentions. Steer clear of rulers who pen their own fates, and perhaps, just perhaps, think twice before honoring the man who claims the moon murmurs secrets of treachery. Ferdinand I of Naples, often referred to as Ferdinand of Aragon, reigned during the mid-15th century, embodying a captivating mix of charisma and ruthlessness, along with a peculiar pastime that would likely prompt anyone to rethink their dinner invitations. At first glance, Ferdinand appeared to be a refined and capable leader. With deft hands, he brought stability to his realm, harmonized the coffers, and swiftly quelled uprisings that dared to challenge his rule. Yet, his approach to leadership embraced a charming authoritarianism, sprinkled with a touch of mind games. Consider, for instance, the way he deals with adversaries. Some kings cast out traitors into the wilderness, while others chose to confine them within dark, cold walls. Ferdinand, he chose to fill them up. Indeed, the art of preserving human forms. Following the execution of the rebellious nobles, he had their bodies embalmed and showcased in a private museum hidden beneath his castle. In a place known as the Black Room, he led captivating tours for foreign dignitaries, visiting ambassadors, and even those who might harbor treacherous intentions. Nothing quite captures the essence of decorum like unveiling a collection of past political blunders. He was said to take pleasure in recounting the tale of each corpse, detailing their name, the crime they committed, and the expression frozen on their face. Some were captured in the throes of a scream, while others bore plaques. As silent witnesses to their tales, one guest collapsed in a moment of unexpected drama. Ferdinand couldn't help but burst into laughter. If TripAdvisor had been around, the reviews would have gleamed with 5 stars, yet carried an air of deep unease. A return would only be possible with a sedative in hand. In the shadows of his eerie gallery, where whispers of the macabre danced through the air. Ferdinand's romantic escapades were just as enigmatic and intriguing. He sired a multitude of unacknowledged offspring, many of whom astonishingly emerged bearing titles and estates. His official queen was merely one among a multitude, and it is believed that Ferdinand regarded marriage as more of a gentle suggestion than a binding rule. His lovers spanned the spectrum from noble women to peasants, united only by his utter lack of concern for subtlety. At royal banquets, the air was thick with intrigue, where every glance and whispered word could spark a dance of flirtation. Ambassador observed that Ferdinand never partook in a meal without indulging in a variety of courses, both political and otherwise. And yet, in the face of it all, Ferdinand continued to capture the hearts of many. The strength he possessed was a source of admiration among his people. Nobles trembled at his presence, and foes who laid eyes on the Black Room swiftly abandoned any thoughts of insurrection. He reigned for many years, took his last breath in the comfort of his chamber, and entrusted the realm to his somewhat rightful successors. What tale does Ferdinand's legacy weave? In a realm of stability, where shadows lurk in a chilling basement, there lies a profound truth. Some monarchs forge alliances, while others gather ominous omens encased in fragile glass. In the year of our Lord 1119, the remnants of the first crusade lingered in the air, a whisper of history woven into the fractured stones of Jerusalem. Christian pilgrims journeyed to the Holy Land in great numbers, filled with hope that the sacred city was now a place of safety. Yet beyond the city walls, a tempest of turmoil reigned. On the winding roads, bandits lurked in the shadows, while fierce Muslim warbands descended upon unsuspecting caravans, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The unfortunate travelers faced a grim fate, either meeting a brutal end or being captured and sold into the depths of slavery. The vision of Christian security in the East was unraveling. In that moment, a valiant knight known as Hugues de Payens, accompanied by 8 steadfast companions, pledged an oath, not to a sovereign, not to a noble, but to the divine. With unwavering devotion, they vowed to safeguard Christian pilgrims, committing themselves not merely as warriors, but as guardians of faith, embodying the spirit of monks. They pledged themselves to a life of simplicity, purity, and unwavering devotion. Without wives, without gold, without lands, only horses, swords, and unwavering faith remain. They referred to themselves as the humble companions of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Indeed, it was quite a mouthful, yet that concluding phrase held significance. For it was King Baldwin II who granted them quarters upon the Temple Mount, where the remnants of Solomon's once rose majestically. From this sacred soil, they drew their name, the Knights Templar. For 9 long years they stood as a small band, unofficial and underfunded, yet fiercely devoted to their cause. They existed in a state of destitution, relying on borrowed armor, sharing noble steeds, and training with relentless fervor. Yet they were unwavering, devoted, formidable, and their legends started to grow. Before long, their unique fusion of monk and warrior drew the gaze of one of the most powerful figures in Christendom, Bernard of Clairvaux. Bernard was not just any abbot. He was a beacon of spiritual charisma. When he spoke, the popes would lean in, captivated, for he perceived a spark of the divine within these figures. In the year 1129, during the notable Council of Treves, he played a pivotal role in crafting the official rule of the Templars, a strict monastic code imbued with a sense of martial intent. He extolled them as the fresh order of knights, a sacred elite who battled not for fame, but for the divine. With Bernard's blessing and the Pope's approval, the Knights Templar transformed from a ragtag group of outcasts into a formidable force. They emerged as a sacred fellowship, blessed by divine decree. Contributions poured forth. Young nobles forsook their plush existences to embrace a new destiny among their kind. From the dust of Jerusalem, the Templars emerged, sacred, ravenous, and now undeniably invincible. Little did they know that what they considered their greatest blessing, the independence granted by the papacy, would ultimately become a harbinger of their doom. With papal recognition in hand and their white mantles adorned with blood-red crosses, the Knights Templar had transformed from mere monks into formidable warriors. They were the vanguard of the faithful. In the Levant, The Crusader states stood as delicate bastions of Christianity amidst a vast ocean of Islamic opposition, perpetually facing peril. The Templars emerged as the steadfast barrier, holding back the relentless waves of adversity. Their code was harsh, yet unmistakable. Stand your ground, but only if the odds are in your favor. Retreat only when the enemy outnumbers you 3-1. Neither ransoms nor mercy shall be found here, and fear has no place in this tale. With unwavering dedication, they honed their skills each day, engaged in combat with fervent resolve, and held the conviction that perishing in battle was the ultimate accolade. In a world where many knights sought glory and treasure, the Templars stood apart. Driven by an unwavering conviction that sent shivers down the spines of their foes, they were the embodiment of divine wrath, charging forth on their steeds. During the Second Crusade, their valor shone brightly. Amidst the chaos of disorganized lords squabbling and their inability to seize Damascus, the Templars stood resolute, their discipline unwavering as they sliced through the enemy ranks with precision. In the heat of skirmishes and the chaos of open battles, their daring charges transformed into tales of legend. Their prowess was undeniable. Yet it was the weight of their name that truly spoke volumes. In the chronicles of warfare, it was the Muslim commanders who first took note of them within the battle reports. Those white-cloaked fiends, adorned with the crimson cross, they didn't merely engage in battle, they built their defenses. Throughout the Holy Land, the Templars wove a formidable tapestry of castles and outposts, each one a testament to their strength and resolve. In the land of Safed, where the tales of Tortosa unfold, stands the formidable fortress of Bagras, a sentinel of history and legend. These were not mere decorative properties. In a time of valor and conquest, Templar castles rose as formidable bastions, their thick walls standing tall against the ravages of war. With gates cunningly crafted to ensnare the unwary, intricate water systems that promised sustenance through the longest of sieges, these strongholds were the epitome of medieval ingenuity and resilience. When armies retreated, the Templars stood resolute, either to sacrifice themselves or to buy precious moments for their comrades. Yet their loyalty lay not with kings, nor with emperors, but solely with the Pope, and thus they became a unique and exceptional kind, a figure that commanded both reverence and trepidation among those in power. No king could issue a command that would sway them, nor could a baron offer riches to bend their will. Only the Grand Master, selected from among us, held the power to command whether we would engage in battle or retreat. They stood resolute in their essence, even as they sacrificed for the emblem of their faith, and they were not merely enlisting warriors. A legend was taking shape before their very eyes. In hushed whispers, they conducted their ceremonies, shrouded in secrecy. Their rites, stripped of excess, held a solemn gravity, and their discipline was unwavering, a testament to their unwavering commitment to countless souls. They were revered, to some foreboding, and yet their allure continued to flourish. Once mere dusty knights, they had now evolved into an elite order that stretched across continents. Yet as the light of recognition shone brightly, shadows of murmurs began to creep in, and those murmurs birthed a tide of jealousy. The blade of the divine had grown keen, yet there would come a day when it would be aimed squarely at them. They embarked on their journey clad in borrowed armor, bound by a solemn vow of poverty. Yet in the span of 100 years, the Knights Templar evolved beyond mere warriors, in a realm where trust was paramount. They stood as the beacon of reliability in the financial world. They embarked on a journey that led them far from the world of banking. Conflict brought them fortune. Trust blossomed from their unwavering faith. The call of necessity sparked their brilliance. Once upon a time, it all began with the generosity of donations. With hearts full of zeal for the Holy Land, the nobles bestowed gifts of land, gold, livestock, and even entire villages upon them. The Templars did not merely keep it to themselves. With great care and a keen sense of strategy, they achieved their goal. Across the vast expanse of Europe, they established commanderies, weaving a tapestry of influence and power. Farms operate with the precision and strategy of well-oiled enterprises. All was in its rightful place. Harvests, herds, levies, offerings. A monk might soon find himself sending funds to aid a conflict in Jerusalem in just a matter of weeks. Such a reach was truly remarkable, and so the banking system emerged. A nobleman journeying to the Holy Land found himself freed from the peril of transporting a chest brimming with coins. In the bustling heart of Paris, he found himself able to entrust his funds to the Templars, receiving in return a mysterious, coded letter. This letter would serve as his key, allowing him to retrieve the same sum in the distant land of Acre. In the annals of finance, it marked the dawn of international banking. With a sense of purpose, the Templars set their fees with care, maintained detailed accounts, and upheld their commitments without fail. In a time long past, they emerged as the financial fortresses of the medieval realm, well before the very notion of Switzerland had taken root. Their audience, rulers, nobles, strategists, and traders, they protected the treasures of the French crown, oversaw the finances of the papacy, financed the Crusades, and negotiated the release of captives. In certain instances, they extended their financial support to the very rulers who would eventually seek their downfall. The Templars kept their riches discreet. They were not adorned in luxurious fabrics or precious metals. Their places of worship were unadorned, their garments modest. Yet, hidden beneath that stern exterior lay a vast realm of ledgers, vaults, and armored wagons, an unseen force that influenced nearly every economy across Europe. Yet they turned away from the title of bankers. In a realm of quietude and contemplation, they were monks. All their actions, they professed, were dedicated to the divine purpose. Yet with each piece of gold they shifted, a new foe emerged from the shadows. The Church chose to overlook the matter. In the grand tapestry of history, it was the Pope to whom the Templars pledged their allegiance. Yet unease settled in the hearts of the kings. They were bound to the Templars by debts of great magnitude and found themselves unable to rein in their influence. What started as a quest to protect, travelers had transformed into something more peculiar. They were fierce champions without a war to fight, seekers of peace without a sacred place, guardians of wealth without a realm to rule. As their treasures piled high, so too did the shadows of doubt loom larger. Authority, unexamined. In that moment, rulers begin to hone their blades. Despite their formidable strength, the Templars found themselves engaged in a battle that seemed destined for defeat. The Crusader states, outremer, stood like castles in the sand. Ever at the mercy of the relentless waves of Islamic resurgence, at the forefront of that wave stood Saladin, the remarkable Sultan of Egypt and Syria. In stark contrast to the chaotic and frequently trivial Crusader lords, Saladin emerged as a beacon of unity. He was driven by a singular purpose: reclaim the heart of Jerusalem. In the year of our Lord 1187, the aspirations of many came to fruition upon the fields of the Battle of Hattin. The heat of battle, the Templars stood resolute, battling until their final breath, yet they found themselves utterly defeated. In a tale of desperation, the Christian army found themselves outmaneuvered, outnumbered, and encircled by the relentless heat, leading to their ultimate annihilation. Saladin seized countless knights, their fates entwined in the tapestry of history. Many found their way back through the art of negotiation. But when the tale turns to the Templars, show no compassion. He carried out nearly all of them. To Saladin, they posed a threat too great to allow them to continue breathing. The fall of Jerusalem was more than a mere defeat on the battlefield. It was a profound moment of inner turmoil. The city they had vowed to safeguard had vanished into the ether. The Holy Sepulchre had returned to the guardianship of the Muslim people, and thus the foundational mission of the Templars started to unravel. Yet they came together once more. Amidst the fervor of the Third Crusade, a formidable figure emerged: Richard, the Lionheart. He recognized the valor of the Templars, drawing upon their strength and unwavering loyalty in the heat of battle. Yet even he was unable to reclaim Jerusalem. As the years unfolded, the Crusader states dwindled, fading away like the last flickers of a dying flame. One by one, the cities succumbed. Antioch, Tripoli, and at last, Acre in the year of our Lord 1291, in a fateful turn of events. The final bastion of the Templars in the Holy Land fell into the hands of their adversaries. They withdrew to Cyprus, establishing new headquarters in a quest to preserve their significance. Yet a change had taken place. They remained fierce fighters, yet the sacred ground they once protected had vanished. What was the cause of their struggle? Their castles lay in silence, void of life. Their tales became shrouded in dust. Their once proud discipline began to wane, slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. In the midst of it all, competing factions, such as the Hospitallers, began to rise in prominence. Whispers of pride, corruption, and arrogance trailed the Templars as they journeyed through Europe. Some murmured that they had amassed wealth beyond measure, shrouded in mystery. Whispers floated through the air, claiming they were amassing relics, perilous treasures. Of old, the East had molded them, tempered them, and shattered them. And now, bereft of it, the Templars found themselves lost at sea. They retained their riches, their connections, their commanding presence. Yet they had forfeited the very essence that rendered them indispensable: a blade untouched by battle, a fellowship devoid of a quest. And in that silence, formidable foes were lurking in the shadows. As the 14th century began to unfold, the Knights Templar remained a force to be reckoned with, wealthy, formidable, and influential in every sense. Yet for the very first time in their saga, they found themselves cast aside, fading into the background of significance. Once upon a time, the Holy Land slipped from grasp. The age of crusades had faded into the distance, leaving no battles to be fought on the horizon. They transformed into a formidable military faction devoid of conflict, a spiritual collective lacking a defined purpose, and a financial titan that bowed to no sovereign. And thus, they became the focus of attention. None regarded them with greater mistrust or avarice than King Philip IV of France, referred to as Philip the Fair. His title had little to do with notions of justice. He found himself ensnared in a web of debt, his fortunes shattered by the relentless battles against England and Flanders. What of the Templars? They were the ones to whom he owed a debt. He had taken great loans from them to support his legions and maintain his reign. Yet Philip found himself uneasy with the weight of debt, particularly to those whose influence he could not wield. Even more troubling, Templars held a position of political independence. They were beholden solely to the Pope, not to the crown. They possessed land in France, yet owed no tribute to the king. In their realm, they built mighty fortresses, established grand courts, and commanded formidable armies. To Philip, they existed as a perilous realm within his own, impervious, unyielding, and exuding an overwhelming wealth. And thus he set forth on a journey of meticulous planning. Philip's narrative engine sprang into action. Whispers circulated that the Templars revered idols that desecrated the cross and engaged in scandalous initiation ceremonies. Only murmurs linger, devoid of proof. Yet, in a time steeped in superstition, mere whispers held great power. He rested against his puppet, Pope Clement V, urging the papacy to delve into the matter. Clement paused, yet Philip pressed on without a moment's delay. In the shadows, Philip masterfully crafted one of the most intricate mass arrests ever witnessed in medieval times. He marked the day, assembled his warriors, and readied his tormentors. On a frigid Friday morning in October 1307, on that fateful Friday the 13th, he made his move. Throughout the land of France, the valiant Templar knights faced capture, intense questioning, confinement, and cruel torment. Confessions emerged under duress. Some shattered in mere hours, some fought against the tide until their very forms betrayed them. It was a betrayal cloaked in the guise of divine righteousness. And thus, it came to fruition. Once steadfast in their allegiance, the crowd began to waver. In a moment of great tension, the Pope, feeling the weight of the world upon him, stood at a crossroads, trapped and exposed. The tide had shifted, not on the battlefield, but within the realm of politics. Once the valiant warrior monks charged fearlessly into the fray, but now they languished in dark dungeons, bound by chains and burdened with accusations that no blade could shield them from. On the 13th day of October, in the year of our Lord 1307, on that fateful day, a shadow was cast over Friday the 13th, sealing its fate in the minds of many as the first light of dawn broke. Shadows stirred in every corner of France, where armed men glided through the stillness, their presence a whispered secret in the awakening day. Their instructions were unmistakable. Capture each Templar you encounter. Without a hint, without a chance to fight back. The king's justice had come. Forth, blades unsheathed and decrees cloaked in mystery. Countless knights were wrenched from their slumber, some clad in their shining armor, others caught in the midst of fervent prayer. In the heart of Paris, Grand Master Jacques de Maule found himself ensnared, a victim of treachery from the very realm whose crown jewels he had valiantly protected. In the shadows of bustling cities and serene countryside, the Templar commanderies faced relentless raids, their vaults pried open and their treasured libraries taken away. The accusations were nothing short of extraordinary. In a world where the shadows dance with forbidden practices, tales of heresy unfold. The allure of idol worship beckons, while the act of spitting on the cross ignites controversy. Whispers of sodomy weave through the night, and the echoes of devil rituals linger in the air, crafting a narrative steeped in darkness and intrigue. Much of it was spun from the imagination of Philip's legal team. Yet in a time filled with trepidation and fervent devotion, the truth was not a necessity. It simply had to resonate with truth. What of the Templars? With flames and steel, their voices were extinguished. In the dim light of night, the shadows of torture chambers flickered ominously throughout France. Men endured torment, their bodies twisted, seared, shattered, and skinned, until their confessions oozed forth like crimson droplets. They conceded to every demand of their relentless questioners, that they turned away from Christ. They paid homage to a severed head known as Baphomet. In hushed moments, they shared kisses. Beneath the veil of secrecy, their hearts entwined in clandestine rituals. In the depths of excruciating torment, even the esteemed Grand Master de Maule found himself confessing, only to later withdraw his words. It was a grand performance, cloaked in the guise of justice. Monarch unleashing his wrath upon those who lent him gold, branding them with accusations so vile that silence enveloped the realm, leaving no soul brave enough to speak in their defense. In a moment of profound disgrace, Pope Clement V found himself in a position of utter humiliation. He had attempted to find common ground. Yet Philip surged ahead with a relentless and unyielding force. With nowhere left to turn, Clement took matters into his own hands and initiated his own inquiry. Other lands, such as England and Spain, lingered in uncertainty. In numerous instances, the charges were cast aside, and the Templars found their freedom once more. Yet in France, the relentless gears of judgment continued to turn. Philip seized their riches, yet a significant portion vanished without a trace. Rumors floated through the air, suggesting that the Templars had secreted away their treasure. Some insisted it remained lost to time, yet there were those who proclaimed that the true treasure lay not in gold, but in the wisdom of ages. The whispers of secrets, the allure of relics, the fabled Holy Grail, and the legendary Ark of the Covenant. Regardless of the reality, the harm had already been inflicted. The Templars had lost their bond of brotherhood. They were wanderers of the night, shadows of their former selves, souls adrift in a world that had forgotten them. The monarch struck not with swords or shields, but with the sharpness of his quill, the flicker of flames, and the web of deceit. And from that moment on, the world would forever view the Red Cross through a different lens. By the year 1312, the conclusion loomed large on the horizon. Once, the Knights Templar stood as the mightiest military order in all of Christendom, but now they languished as shattered souls confined within shadowy cells. Their revelations, extracted through torment, served as the rationale for the events that followed. And what unfolded next was a gradual unraveling. In the shadow of King Philip IV's relentless pressure, Pope Clement V took a decisive step at the Council of Vienne in March 1312, formally disbanding the Templar order. With the issuance of the papal bull Vox in Excelso, they found themselves bereft of their titles, their possessions, and the essence of who they were. In the annals of history, the Templars had vanished, their legacy seemingly erased. The Holy See proclaimed it an act of compassion, not a judgment, but an essential measure to avert additional scandal. In truth, it was a calculated act of power cloaked in the garments of the sacred. The properties of the order found a new home with the Knights Hospital, yet not all found their way to that place. Much of the Templars' wealth, treasures, ledgers, and rumored relics seemed to have slipped into the shadows, disappearing without a trace. Whispers floated through the air, suggesting it lay concealed from the world. Some whispered that it had been silently claimed by Philip's coffers. In any event, the grand financial empire of the Templars vanished into thin air, leaving a trail of lingering questions in its wake. Yet, the concluding chapter remained unwritten. In the year 1314, the valiant Grand Master, Jacques de Maule, having endured 7 arduous years of imprisonment, was brought forth to a scaffold in the heart of Paris. He faced execution beside Geoffroy de Charnay, a fellow high-ranking Templar. Both had withdrawn their confessions, steadfastly maintaining until the very end that the order bore no guilt, and for that act of rebellion they would face the flames. Upon a small island in the Seine, they found themselves bound to a wooden stake, their fate hanging in the balance. As the flames danced higher, de Maule's voice pierced through the thick smoke, invoking the divine to pass judgment on those who had sealed his fate in a tale woven through time. He cast a dark spell upon both King Philip and Pope Clement, proclaiming, "Their fates sealed within the year's embrace." So it came to pass. Clement fell victim to illness in just a month's time. Philip arrived later that year, unexpected and unannounced. Some murmured it was the hand of fate, while others deemed it mere happenstance. Yet the tale endured. The Templars met their end, their final words a haunting curse upon their slayers. And the skies above took heed of their plight. Thus, the final authentic echo of the Knights Templar was extinguished in flames. Their tale concluded not with a clash of swords, but with treachery, torment, fire. Yet even as they vanished from the map, their tale was only just beginning to blossom. The flames of the Templar executions may have flickered and faded, yet the sparks of their tale ignited with an intensity unmatched. With the order disbanded, their castles seized, and their leaders executed, it appeared that their tale had reached its conclusion, yet an unusual occurrence unfolded. Rather than slipping into obscurity, the Knights Templar evolved from shamed monks into timeless emblems of enigma and strength. The shroud of mystery that had once shielded them now nurtured whispers of speculation. What became of their treasure? Where had their scrolls vanished, their relics hidden, their sacred wisdom gone? Whispers circulated that the Templars had cunningly whisked away the Holy Grail just before their fateful arrest. Whispers floated through the air, tales of a hidden Ark of the Covenant and the guardians of Jesus' own lineage. Only whispers lingered in the air, mere echoes of what once was, with no evidence to illuminate the truth-just shadows dancing in the twilight. Yet, in the realm of the medieval, mere shadows held great significance, and so emerged the notion that the Templars had endured, hidden away beneath the earth. Even after their official dissolution, numerous extemplars seamlessly merged into the fabric of everyday life. Their stories woven into the tapestry of the world around them. Some ventured into other monastic orders, some took up the life of mercenaries. Yet as the tales go, some chose to tread the path of secrecy in the shadows. They wove clandestine bonds, safeguarding their sacred rites and treasured artifacts in quietude, patiently awaiting the moment to reveal their secrets. Centuries later, those tales transformed into legends. Legends swirl around the Templars, who are often seen as the architects behind the majestic Gothic cathedrals and the mysterious origins of Freemasonry. Whispers of intrigue flourished, suggesting that the Templars held sway over banks' thrones in revolutions. They had always remained unbroken, merely cloaked in shadows. Behind every significant moment in history, there exists a concealed force in a white cloak steering the results. The realm of pop culture offered no assistance. The Templars have graced the pages of books, the screens of games, and the frames of films, appearing as both noble champions and nefarious foes. Don Brown's The Da Vinci Code transformed them into guardians of sacred bloodlines in the shadows. They wove a tapestry of influence, guiding the course of civilization with deft precision. Every rendition twisted reality, yet nourished the intrigue. In truth, the Templars were made of flesh and blood, indeed, courageous. Imperfect, without a doubt. Devout fighters who sought to blend sacred commitments with the brutality of battle, ultimately facing the consequences of their choices. Yet legends persist, for they provide what the annals of time frequently failed to deliver: revelations, significance, enigma. The true Templars met their fate upon the gallows and within the dark confines of dungeons. Ah, but what of the legendary Templars? They continue to gallop through the realms of thought, timeless, shielded, and shrouded in mystery. In that regard, Philip the Fair did not succeed, shattered their forms. Ah, but what of their tale? Unreachable. Over 700 years have slipped by since the final Grand Master of the Knights Templar met his fiery fate on the banks of the Seine. Yet, the Red Cross remains, a presence that endures in the realm of literature, within the grandeur of architecture and the symbols etched into ancient stone and murmured through the shadows of conspiracy theories. The Templars may have vanished, yet the echoes of their legacy resonate powerfully through time. They embodied a legacy beyond mere combatants. They were pioneers of creativity. In a time when monarchs governed by heavenly decree and the act of banking was deemed sinful, the Templars wove together a vast tapestry of finance, logistics, and diplomacy across Europe. Their letters of credit foreshadowed the evolution of modern checks. Their commanderies operated as regional outposts of a vast enterprise, each contributing to the larger narrative of a global endeavor. They served as a foundational narrative for global interconnectedness, forged not through financial exchanges, but through the clash of blades and solemn promises. In their quest for honor and valor, they transformed the very essence of knighthood. In a time before the Templars, chivalry existed as a personal code, one that was fluid and frequently overlooked. The Templars transformed it into a formidable institution, a discipline upheld with unwavering rigor. They were not solitary heroes battling for fame. They were warriors, honed like elite operatives, ready to sacrifice everything for a lofty vision. And perish they did, often in quietude. At times in futility, yet never without leaving a mark. They transformed the Western perspective on the intricate dance between faith and conflict. The idea of the warrior monk invites us to reconsider the belief that sanctity and aggression cannot coexist. They revealed how conviction could be turned into a powerful tool wielded not only in warfare but also in the realms of politics, finance, and the art of persuasion. And when they fell, it was that very conviction in their alleged transgression that sanctioned their demise. Their descent became a lesson woven into the fabric of history. In the annals of history, the Templars emerged as a potent emblem of unbridled authority, unbound by the will of others, shielded by the highest authority. Wealth surpassing that of monarchs, their demise revealed the delicate nature of establishments, even those cloaked in sacred power. In a time long past, a grand tale unfolded where the machinations of power were not wielded by shareholders, but by the noble and the mighty of Rome. Today, they exist more as a legend than a mere mortal, yet legends mold our recollections. And the tale of the Templars, brave yet imperfect, and ultimately betrayed, serves as a poignant reminder that history is not solely inscribed in triumphs. At times it lingers in the remnants of smoke. So the next time you encounter a red cross on white cloth, recall that it was once donned by individuals who were convinced they were fulfilling a divine mission, till the tides of politics, ambition, and fear shifted the course of their journey. In the midst of that fierce battle, where steel met gold and fire danced, their tale began to unfold. In the heart of 12th century Paris, tapestry of transformation unfolded. As the trade routes unfurled across the lands, universities blossomed into centers of knowledge, while the church, with newfound vigor, asserted its influence like never before. In a time marked by fervent aspirations, the realms of politics, spirituality, and architecture flourished like never before. In the heart of this burgeoning city arose a vision crafted from stone. That dream was woven by Maurice de Sully, the Bishop of Paris. In the year 1160, he emerged not merely as a servant of the divine, but as a beacon of foresight and imagination. The Cathedral of Saint-Étienne stood in a state of decay, lacking the grandeur one might expect as Paris expanded. The spiritual core of the city sought to rise to meet its burgeoning grandeur. Thus, de Sully envisioned grander horizons, significantly larger. He envisioned a cathedral of such grandeur, such breathtaking scale, that it would overshadow all that surrounded it. A tribute not merely to the Virgin Mary, but to the enduring strength and majesty of the Catholic Church in France. This would not resemble the Romanesque fortresses that came before it. It would be an intriguing creation, a bold innovation, a darkly enchanting tale. In the year of our Lord 1163, that dream began to weave itself into reality. In a moment steeped in tradition, it was Pope Alexander III who personally laid the first stone, accompanied by a ceremonial blessing that echoed through the ages. On the eastern end, the choir and apse came to life, a place where, in the future, priests would lift their voices in hymns beneath the majestic arches of glass and stone. Yet this was not just any ordinary creation. Notre Dame transcended mere architecture. It embodied a legacy woven through generations. Thus, the spirited inhabitants of Paris stonemasons, its blacksmiths, carpenters, and artists set forth on their grand endeavor. They transported limestone from the quarries that lay close by, meticulously crafted it with tools from a bygone era, and erected scaffolding that reached for the skies. Each block was meticulously placed by hand, every carving, every window, every rib of the vault shaped with unwavering patience, deep faith, and tireless effort. Completing even the initial sections would stretch across decades. The workers toiled, fully aware that they would not witness the completion of the towering structures. Fathers passed down their chisels to their sons, legacy of craftsmanship and tradition. As the years flowed by, Notre Dame stood tall, a magnificent testament to time, gracefully dominating the Parisian skyline. For Bishop de Sully, the vision was unmistakable: to create a divine sanctuary so inspiring that the very act of stepping inside to bring one to a place of humility. Notre Dame was destined for more than merely serving as a church. It was a sacred creation etched in stone, a tribute to the heights humanity could reach when it aspired towards the divine. What lay ahead was just the start of an unfolding tale. What unfolded next would transform both the silhouette and the spirit of medieval Europe. In the unfolding tapestry of the 1170s, Notre Dame emerged not merely as a building, but as a beacon of significance. In a city of narrow timber houses and muddy streets, the cathedral gradually emerged, rising above the skyline like a stone sermon, a testament to faith and craftsmanship. In a time when the Gothic style was just beginning to emerge, it stood on the brink of transforming churches into something far beyond mere places of worship. They were destined to become vessels of wonder and inspiration. The journey unfolded from the east to the west, starting with the choir, a place where priests would eventually carry out sacred rites, and then to the nave, the expansive area designated for the devoted congregation. Behold the architecture that changed everything. The walls whispered secrets, while the ceilings soared into the unknown. The pointed arches enabled a greater transfer of weight downward. And what about those ribbed vaults? They didn't merely uphold the ceiling. They lifted their voices, beckoning both gaze and spirit to soar toward the divine. Yet among all the ideas that emerged, the one that shone the brightest was light. In contrast to the shadowy Romanesque churches of yesteryear, Notre Dame was crafted to radiate brilliance. Majestic stained glass windows emerged, casting vibrant hues into intricate patterns of sacred geometry. As dawn breaks, the vivid tales of Scripture unfold, illuminating the world around us. The church had transcended mere storytelling. It was now casting light upon them. Each element of Notre Dame whispered its own tale. The columns stood not merely as supports, but as embodiments of saints themselves. The archways served a purpose beyond mere decoration. They were gateways to redemption. The stone embodied the essence of belief, while the masons crafted its narrative. Meanwhile, beyond the walls, Paris was undergoing a remarkable transformation. The cathedral pulsed with life. Markets gathered closely around it. Whispers of wisdom danced along the banks of the Seine, in the presence of the majestic University of Paris. Eager students congregated, their aspirations intertwining with the very essence of the institution. Notre Dame was more than mere stone and mortar. It was evolving into the very heartbeat of the city. Alas, the journey unfolded at a languid pace. In the absence of cranes and power tools, the scene was stripped down to its essence. Only strength, timber frameworks, and unwavering determination. Countless souls labored tirelessly, season after season. As one departed, another rose to fill. The void names often slipped through the cracks of history, seldom captured in the annals of time. Their treasure lay not in renown, but in belief. They crafted their legacy not for their own sake, but as a tribute to the divine and for the future yet to come. By the year 1200, the choir, and a significant portion of the nave, rose majestically. The contours of an extraordinary event were beginning to emerge. Notre Dame had transformed from a mere dream into a vivid reality. It was a blend of solid stone and shimmering glass, intertwined with the essence of sweat and the weight of prayer. As the edifice soared towards the heavens, so too did the dreams of those who crafted it. For what lay ahead would challenge the very laws of nature and logic. Notre Dame emerged as a marvel that the city had never encountered before, yet it carried with it a perilous ambition. As the walls ascended and the vaulted ceilings stretched wide, a dilemma began to unfold. They burdened the stone ceilings, pushed against the air, spanning their presence not merely in a downward direction, but outward, as if they were reaching for something beyond the confines of their own structure. The soaring vaults ascended ever higher, their presence a looming force that seemed intent on prying the walls asunder. In the age of Romanesque architecture, solution lay in the embrace of robust walls and the subtle charm of small windows. Yet, Notre Dame was crafted to exhale life, to shine brightly, to ascend to the celestial realms in both essence and expanse. In that moment, the Masons embarked on a groundbreaking journey. They embraced a daring architectural concept, one that was still in its infancy, and pursued it with fervor. Behold the soaring buttress, a marvel of architectural grace that reaches towards the heavens. These were not just simple supports. External arms of stone gracefully arched from the upper walls, reaching down to solid piers that stood apart from the main building. A testament to the artistry of architecture. Like bony wings, they supported the cathedral from the exterior, channeling the ceiling's outward pressure into the earth, where it would cause no damage from the earth below. They appeared ethereally fragile, reminiscent of intricate lace crafted from limestone. Yet they possessed an extraordinary brilliance in engineering, and they embraced Notre Dame, letting it transform into what it was destined to be, a marvel of air, light, and soaring heights. The introduction of flying buttresses transformed the landscape entirely. As the weight lifted from the interior walls, the builders seized the opportunity to invite even more light through additional windows. The magnificent rose windows, immense circles of vibrant stained glass illustrating saints, angels, and the end of days, had transformed from mere fantasy into reality. They transformed into existence. Vibrant hues burst forth in the hallowed ground as divine narratives flowed not only from the pulpit, but also from the very rays of sunlight. In a twist of fate, the initial designs for Notre Dame surprisingly left out the iconic flying buttresses. The early architects of the Gothic era were still on the journey to uncover their true capabilities. Yet, as the edifice expanded, so too did the pressure. The Masons adjusted in real time, quite literally, in the early 1200s. They embarked on a journey of transformation, crafting stone wings that transcended mere necessity, blossoming into a form of poetry. At that moment, opinions among the critics were far from unanimous. Some viewed the exposed supports as an eyesore, disrupting the building's elegant lines. Yet the majority remained captivated. Notre Dame appeared as though it was being cradled by stone angels caught in a moment of soaring grace. The cathedral had transcended its role as merely a house of God. It was a vibrant testament to the incredible things that faith and math could create in harmony. A melody etched in stone that defies the very laws of nature. And its wings were only just starting to unfurl. In the early 1200s, the majestic Notre Dame began to rise, reshaping the skyline of Paris, yet its most recognizable elements were still in the process of being crafted. As the eastern end approached its final touches, the gaze turned towards the west. What emerged there would transform into the visage of the cathedral, the aspect that would capture the attention of all who beheld. At first, the twin towers rise majestically, their monumental west facade telling tales of grandeur and resilience. This facade held secrets beyond mere entry. It was a declaration, enigmatic, monumental, and influential. The church loomed ahead, designed to evoke a sense of insignificance as you drew near. And it accomplished its purpose beautifully. The doors reached heights that defied imagination. Overhead, a procession of intricately carved kings, prophets, saints, and demons observed each passerby with an unwavering gaze. As you crossed the threshold, it felt as though you were stepping into a realm of profound reckoning. In the early days, around the 12th and 20s, the West Towers began to rise from the ground, marking the start of a new chapter in their story. As with all things at Notre Dame, the completion spanned many years. Each tower ascended in a grand progression, layer by layer, reaching ever greater heights, until they soared to nearly 70 meters above the ground. And yet they remained unfinished, drifting away from the vision that once inspired them. There are no towering spires or sharp needlepoints here, only grand, flat-topped silhouettes that stand proudly, embodying a beauty in their unadorned form. Amidst the towering structures stood the Gallery of Kings, where 28 statues embodied the monarchs of Judah. These figures, misidentified during the tumult of the French Revolution as French royalty, met a tragic fate at the hands of enraged mobs, their heads severed in a frenzy of misunderstanding. Yet, in the 13th century, a distinct message was conveyed. By the grace of the cosmos, celestial hierarchy unfolds, a revered governance that commands respect. In a world where the sacred and the sovereign intertwined, this was the threshold of their shared dominion. Below them, the three grand portals stood as a narrative woven in stone, each telling a tale of divine significance. At the heart of it all, the portal of the Last Judgment stands, intricately carved with Christ in all, his glory, surrounded by a host of angels, demons, and the souls of the resurrected, emerging from their eternal slumber. To the unlettered crowds, these images were not mere embellishments, they were teachings. The message resonated, inviting all to step forth with a sense of awe. Here begins the endless tale. Above the doors, a magnificent rose window unfurled, nearly 10 meters wide, encased in delicate tracery, and accompanied by statues of the Virgin Mary and Child, standing sentinel on either side. Light streamed through the stained glass, casting ethereal images of saints that danced across the nave, as if touched by the hand of the divine. As the mid-1200s approached, the towers stood on the brink of completion, their silhouettes rising against the horizon. The facade rose in its entirety, a grand testament to symmetry and solemnity, leaving an indelible impression on all who beheld it. It stood as a bastion of belief, a testament to divine power, and a cautionary tale for the wayward soul. But, still, the builders had more to create. The essence of Notre Dame awaited its final touches. The transept, the roof, the spire destined to reach for the heavens. Having crafted its visage, they were now poised to adorn it with a regal crown, with the towers and west facade standing in proud defiance of gravity. Notre Dame was transforming into something greater. It yearned for a soul, and that essence resided within, nestled in the vast expanse of its nave, its transepts, and its sacred choir. In these hallowed spaces, the echoes of monks' voices would resonate. The regal footsteps of kings would tread, and the fervent prayers of countless souls would rise. As the 1200s reached their midpoint, the craftsmen turned their attention to the transepts, those majestic arms of the cross-shaped design that bestowed upon Gothic cathedrals their legendary floor plan. Under the guidance of architect Jean Dequel and later Pierre de Montreux, these wings blossomed, embellished with new rose windows that surpassed the beauty of those on the western end. In the north transept, a radiant window cast a serene glow of cool blues and ethereal purples, while the south embraced a warmer, fiery light equally divine in its splendor. These were not merely design choices. They were a vibrant expression of belief. The northern window symbolized the Old Testament, while the southern window embodied the New. The two wings unfolded the complete narrative of redemption, one aglow with light, the other ablaze with fire. Within the cathedral's embrace, columns rose majestically, reminiscent of towering trees in a stony woodland. The vaulted ceilings, reaching nearly 35 meters above, displayed ribbed arches that converged like hands in supplication. This transcended mere architecture. It was a dance, an ascent that lifted the spirit toward the divine. And then emerged the altar, the hallowed heart of the realm. In this place the sacred ritual unfolded. In this place, cherished remnants were honored. So it was that the finest of France gathered to bow in reverence. Grand ceremonies, majestic celebrations, sacred gatherings. Notre Dame emerged as the sacred backdrop for the very essence of the nation. Yet it was not solely the elite who graced these walls. The people gathered as well. Traders, farmers, wanderers. The cathedral transformed into a communal haven, resonating with heartfelt sermons, melodic songs, and the rare admonition from the pulpit. It was a realm where wonders unfolded, or where one might plead for a glimpse of the extraordinary. Every surface within whispered tales, the sculptures, the stained glass, even the floor tiles. Notre Dame was not merely a sanctuary for the divine. It embodied the very essence of it. Faith permeated the air, etched into stone, wafting through incense, shimmering from glass. As the 13th century drew to a close, the interior stood nearly finished, pulsating with the vibrant essence of the cathedral's spirit. Yet, it remained incomplete, yearning for a crown to ascend to the skies. And so it was that they embarked on the grand endeavor of constructing the spire. As the 1200s drew to a close, Notre Dame stood as a testament to wonder. The towers reached for the heavens. The nave resonated with sacred melodies, and the rose. Windows bathed the interior in a celestial glow, yet there lingered a sense of incompleteness. The cathedral possessed a visage, a soul, and outstretched wings, yet it lacked a crown. There is no upward element to guide the gaze past the rooftop and into the sky above. It was at that moment that the vision for the spire took shape. In contrast to the twin towers, which stood with a weighty presence, the spire would rise with a graceful elegance, a needle reaching skyward. Emerges from the intersection of the transept, perfectly positioned at the heart of the church's cross-shaped design. Crafted from sturdy oak and adorned with lead, the original spire stood as a testament to both engineering prowess and a profound spiritual declaration. This was not merely adornment. It stood as the exclamation point of Notre Dame, its most prominent prayer. The creation of this marvel called upon the skills of master carpenters and metalsmiths, weaving their craftsmanship into every detail. With the strength of human hands, oak beams were lifted, guided by winches, pulleys, and the sturdy embrace of scaffolding. The design needed to be both delicate and sturdy, able to endure the fierce winds that swept through Paris from the Seine. Upon completion, the spire soared into the heavens, a blade raised in reverence, and beneath it, a tapestry of intricate work was weaving itself into existence. From the depths of stone, those peculiar and eerie beings known as gargoyles came to life. They were grotesque for a purpose. Numerous structures acted as conduits, guiding the rain away from the stonework. Some served as symbols, protectors designed to ward off malevolence or to serve as a stark reminder to wrongdoers of the consequences that lay ahead. In the concluding chapter, a multitude of chimeras emerged. Statues of fantastical creatures looming over Paris, their gaze eternally sweeping across the skyline. They were a haunting blend of terror and wonder, entwined in a dark romance with enigma and meaning. Within those sacred walls, the chapels stood finished, choir stalls intricately carved, and the relics reverently enshrined. Notre Dame had come alive, a harmonious blend of the divine and the grand, serving as both a sacred engine and a vibrant national theater. After 100 years of toil, countless hands had labored, and the hopes of a whole realm had been woven into this grand endeavor. By the year 1345, almost 2 centuries after the first stone was set in place, the grand cathedral was deemed finished. Yet whole was never quite the fitting term. Notre Dame has always been a living tapestry, ever evolving through the ages. It would be brought back to life, transformed, and reborn through the ages. Yet as the 14th century unfolded, the very framework had reached its completion. In the shadowy embrace of the Gothic age, a grand masterpiece emerged, a testament to the artistry and ambition of its time. By the mid-14th century, Notre Dame de Paris had transcended its role as merely a cathedral. It stood as the cathedral, a magnificent emblem of Catholic supremacy, royal power, and the essence of national identity. For the next 4 centuries, it remained not just the heart of Paris, but a grand stage where the epic tales of France would come to life. It emerged as the vibrant center of state religion, a stage for coronations, royal weddings, and solemn farewells. When monarchs united in matrimony, it was beneath the grand arches of its ceilings. In times of war and moments of triumph, the resounding bells of Notre Dame echoed across the Seine, marking the pulse of history. Monarchs arrived as sovereigns of the realm and departed as the anointed of the divine. Yet it was not solely monarchs who traversed those magnificent thresholds. Leaders of armies, men of the cloth, and esteemed visitors from distant lands gathered, some to bow in reverence, others to engage in delicate discussions. In times of calamity, when famines, plagues, and invasions descended upon the city, the people of Paris gathered in the grand nave, their hearts united in fervent prayers and solemn processions, yearning for a touch of divine grace. The cathedral stood as a beacon of both hope and trepidation, ever vigilant, ever patient in its silent watch. In the grand tapestry of history, Notre Dame emerged as the sacred heart of the French monarchy, a beacon of spiritual significance amidst the shifting tides of politics. Its central location, on the Isle de la Cite, at the very heart of Paris, both literally and symbolically, crafted an ideal setting for the enactment of ritualized power. Before the clash of swords, the priests adorned the banners with sacred blessings. The crown was intertwined, not merely with royal lineage, but with a sacred decree from the heavens. Should the king hold dominion over France, then Notre Dame reigned supreme within the depths of his spirit. And in the tapestry of culture, it stood as a beacon of wonder. Wanderers journeyed great distances to catch a sight of its hallowed treasures. Among them the crown of thorns, thought to have adorned the head of Christ himself. The grand organ resonated with powerful chords on festive occasions. Their harmonies resonated with intricate melodies that transcended the limits of the medieval era. Notre Dame was alive with stories. It transformed, weaving in fresh artistic expressions, melodic legacies, and sacred practices. Yet, as the 17th and 18th centuries unfolded, the once celebrated Gothic beauty began to wane in popularity. In a time when Baroque architecture reigned supreme, majestic Notre Dame, with its dark, spiky silhouette and medieval charm, found itself cast aside as a relic of the past. Some renovations were even attempted to breathe new life into its appearance, softening what had once been bold and audacious. Yet it remained a grand edifice suspended in time. Once celebrated, now fading from memory, its towers have withstood the tempests of both nature and time, while its bells continue to ring out. Yet an unseen force was stirring deep within its very core. From the depths of devotion, Notre Dame emerged, graced by the presence of monarchs. Yet before long, it would encounter a power that even the mightiest stone could not withstand transformation, as the winds of change swept through. France, in 1789. Notre Dame de Paris stood at a crossroads, caught in the tumult of a revolution that would forever alter its fate. For ages, it had loomed as a testament to the reign and faith, two pillars that the uprising aimed to dismantle. In an instant, the grand cathedral that once stood as a testament to the crowning of kings transformed into a haunting emblem of oppression. For in the tumult of revolutions, symbols seldom emerge unscathed. The assault was both a clash of beliefs and a brutal confrontation. With fervor and determination, the revolutionaries burst into the cathedral, their presence echoing through the hallowed halls. The statues of the biblical kings that graced the facade were misidentified as French monarchs. Each of the 28 met their fate at the edge of the blade. Statues lay in ruins, sacred places tarnished. The magnificent bells, which once rang out in celebration of royal births and papal visits, were dismantled and transformed into cannon metal. Valuable artifacts, such as the crown of thorns, were carefully taken away and concealed. Countless souls vanished into the shadows. What lingered was but an empty vessel. In the year 1793, the Grand Notre Dame was officially stripped of its sacred status. It had shed its former identity as a church. Instead, it transformed into the renowned Temple of Reason, reimagined for revolutionary festivities that honored the spirit of secular enlightenment. There was a time when it served as a grand repository for the finest wines, a place where bottles were carefully tucked away, waiting to be unveiled. The grand nave, once alive with the sound of hymns, now carried the scent of spilled barrels and damp stone. The spire, once a proud sentinel of the skyline, stood damaged and decaying, its fate sealed as it was ultimately dismantled for the sake of safety. From their lofty perches, the gargoyles tumbled down. Raindrops danced upon the ceiling, whispering secrets of a roof that could no longer hold back the sky's tears. In the shadows of the crypt, the rats darted about, their tiny feet whispering secrets of the dark. It felt as if the soul of Paris had faded away, leaving behind only a desolate remnant at its core, and yet it endured. Upon ascending to power, Napoleon understood the profound significance that Notre Dame held in the hearts and minds of the people. In the year 1804, selected this very place for his grand self-coronation as emperor. The cathedral was restored and polished, ready to embrace the grandeur of the upcoming ceremony. Yet, this was not an act of faith. It was a grand performance. In a dramatic turn of events, Napoleon took the crown into his own hands, boldly seizing it from the Pope's grasp. Notre Dame once more catered to the mighty, yet devoid of the sacredness it once held dear. Yet the passage of time, marked by years of disregard, etched deep wounds upon the landscape. In the 1830s, the once majestic Notre Dame stood in a state of decay, both in its structure and its soul. It faced the axe on several occasions. Some Parisians envisioned a transformation, yearning for a creation that embraced the modern, shedding the shadows of the medieval past, and then a weaver of tales stepped in. A creator who perceives beyond the fractured stones and broken statues, to uncover something timeless, something deserving of preservation. Just as the world seemed poised to let Notre Dame fade into memory, Victor Hugo stepped in to awaken its spirit once more in the year 1831. A remarkable book emerged, destined to rescue a cathedral from obscurity. Victor Hugo's Notre Dame de Paris, which later became known in English as The Hunchback of Notre Dame, transcended the boundaries of a mere Gothic novel, was a heartfelt call to safeguard what is cherished. Through the perspective of Quasimodo, the hunchbacked bell ringer, Hugo transformed Notre Dame into a living entity, breathing life into its stones and shadows. It was a vibrant being, hurt, misjudged, exquisite in its deterioration. and the audience leaned in. The tale resonated deeply throughout France. In an instant, the people of Paris came to understand the preciousness of what was on the brink of slipping away from their grasp. Notre Dame was steeped in history. It stood as a testament, a grand tribute to ages of passion and artistry. But clamor had its effect. In the year 1844, King Louis Philippe gave his blessing to a grand restoration of the cathedral. At the forefront of this endeavor stood two visionary architects, Eugene Villalat de Quedas, Lassus. Their aim transcended mere repairs. It was about breathing life back into the very spirit of the cathedral. They restored the weathered statues, reconstructed the Gallery of Kings, and envisioned anew the spire that had been lost in the tumult of the Revolution. Behold, the new spire, a creation of Violaduc, soaring to a height of 96 meters, more majestic and intricate than its predecessor, would evolve into a silhouette that would be etched into the very fabric of Europe's identity. In the unfolding narrative of the 19th and 20th centuries, Notre Dame reclaimed its esteemed position, standing proudly at the heart of Paris's spiritual and cultural landscape. It embraced countless gatherings, bore witness to moments of freedom. It opened its doors to millions of souls seeking connection. It endured the trials of 2 world wars. In the shadow of the Nazi occupation, the bells fell mute, their voices lost to the echoes of history. As the bells of Paris chimed in joyous celebration in 1944, marking the city's liberation, a shadow loomed, hinting that sorrow would soon follow. On the fateful day of April 15, 2019, flames erupted beneath the roof, igniting a tale of chaos and destruction. In mere moments, the inferno consumed the ancient wooden lattice called the forest, with some beams tracing their origins back to the 13th century. The flames danced and roared for what felt like an eternity. With a thunderous crash, the roof gave way. The spire of the 19th century crumbled, engulfed in a swirling plume of smoke, in a moment that felt surreal. The world held its breath as one of humanity's most cherished monuments appeared to dissolve before our very eyes. And yet once more it endured. The stone towers rose majestically, unwavering against the passage of time. The rose windows stood the test of time. The relics found their way to safety. And so it was that the people of France, joined by hearts across the globe, pledged to rise, anew from the ashes. Notre Dame has forever been a tale woven into the fabric of history, transcending mere architecture. It embodies recollection, selfhood, strength, a sacred space, an emblem, a testament to endurance. In each stone that emerges from its ashes, we find a reminder that faith and beauty have the power to be reborn. In the year of our Lord 1775, a remarkable soul came into the world in the vibrant Guangdong province of China. Her name at birth remained a mystery, lost to the sands of time. In the annals of time, she would be remembered as Zheng Yusao, a devoted wife of Zheng Yi. Yet the way she wielded that name would send tremors through the very foundations of empires. In her formative years, she found herself navigating the tumultuous waters of life aboard a Cantonese floating brothel, a stark reality faced by many impoverished girls in the coastal regions of 18th century China. These intriguing flower boats served the needs of merchants, naval officers, and even pirates. Yet she stood apart from the rest. She absorbed every word. She observed intently. She held on to names like precious gems, each one a story waiting to be told. She drew out the voices of influential clients. As the days turned into years, she transformed into something far beyond mere amusement. She transformed into a purveyor of knowledge. And then emerged Zheng Yi, a formidable pirate lord who led the Red Flag Fleet, one of the most fearsome pirate factions in the South China Sea. He may not have been the first pirate to cross her path, yet he would undoubtedly be the final chapter. In her tale, captivated by her sharp intellect and cleverness, Zheng Yi made a proposal of marriage. She agreed, yet not without stipulations. In a remarkable twist of fate, she skillfully navigated the complexities of her position. She sought to share the reins of the fleet, not merely as a spouse, but as an equal companion in the journey. They would weave together political alliances, orchestrate the spoils of conquest, and influence every strategic maneuver. Zhang Yi nodded in agreement. In the delicate dance of affection and cunning, he recognized her value as a treasure to be cherished. In the year 1801, their union marked the dawn of a legendary pirate dynasty, destined to carve its name into the annals of history. Zhang Yi swiftly wove herself into the intricate tapestry of pirate politics. She delved into the intricate hierarchies, the fierce rivalries, and the secret codes that defined the world of pirates. As Zhang Yi navigated the seas and claimed victories, she deftly wove connections, gathered supporters, and mastered the art of governance from the unseen corners of power. Yet, her time in the shadows was fleeting when Zhang Yi met his untimely end in 1807, perhaps at the hands of a fierce typhoon, and he believed his vast empire would soon splinter into chaos. A multitude of pirate captains lay in wait, eager to seize the moment, anticipating a shift in power. What they received was an audacious bid for control. Zhang Yi Cao took the helm, not through sheer might, but with cunning and careful planning. With a bold spirit, she seized control of the Red Flag fleet, weaving together alliances that would stand the test of time. In a strategic move, she united her fate with Zhang Yi's adopted son and Lieutenant Cheng Po Sai, forging bonds of personal loyalty that would bolster her military might. In less than 10 years, she transformed from a life on the streets to reigning as a pirate queen. And her journey was only beginning. When Zhang Yi Cao took the helm in 1807, she didn't merely assume control of a pirate fleet. She embraced a realm adrift upon the waves. Yet, rather than allowing it to fracture into disarray following her husband's passing, she strengthened her hold and forged it into something even more formidable. Under her command, the Red Flag fleet thrived beyond mere survival. It grew and spread like a tail weaving through the fabric of time. In the shadowy waters of the South China Sea, a tale unfolds, one that has been marred by the presence of pirates for ages. Yet what Zhang Yi Cao commanded was truly remarkable. She commanded a fleet of more than 300 ships, and in just a year, that fleet grew to over 600, according to some estimates. She ultimately commanded over 1,800 vessels and up to 70,000 men, surpassing the combined strength of several European navies of her era. With an unyielding sense of practicality and a sharp insight into the minds of pirates, she navigated her path. She wielded her influence not merely through might, but by weaving a web that tethered her captains to her will. She established a rigorous set of rules that dictated every facet of life on the high seas for her crew of pirates. Treasure, allegiance, order, and retribution. Defiance was met with immediate and harsh consequences. Those who dared to pilfer from the shared coffers faced a grim fate, their heads severed from their bodies. Should a pirate dare to lay hands upon a female captive without her consent, the consequence was swift and severe. Execution awaited him. When a pirate chose to abandon his crew, grim fate awaited him. His ears would be severed, and he would be displayed before the entire fleet as a cautionary tale. Yet it was more than mere fear. Zhang Yi Cao provided a haven, a framework, and a means to prosper. With her clever code, the pirates were granted a fair slice of the treasure, 20%, while the remainder flowed into a communal fund under her watchful care. This created a sense of ownership among all, fostering loyalty through a foundation of stability. Even those who had been vanquished, and the villagers by the sea, frequently opted to ally with her. Instead of standing against her, she split the Grand Fleet into 6 distinct squadrons, each adorned in its own vibrant hue: red, black, white, blue, yellow, and green, each hue weaving its tale, yet all ultimately bowed to her command. Her most trusted companion and right hand, Cheng Po Sai, commanded the Red Squadron, her distinguished battalion. Under Zhang Yi Cao, piracy evolved into a self-sustaining realm, complete with its own system of taxation, defense, and a structured hierarchy. She commanded the waters stretching from Vietnam to Hong Kong, overseeing the flow of trade, launching daring raids on imperial strongholds, and gathering tribute from the towns along the coast. In the era of the Qing dynasty, a formidable navy sailed the seas. while Chung Yi Kao commanded an ever-expanding empire, its influence reaching far and wide. Chung Yi Kao didn't merely captivate with her charm. She governed with a firm hand, enforcing unyielding laws. Though the image of pirates typically evokes scenes of chaos and drunken revelry, our fleet functioned with the precision and order of a well-oiled machine rather than a band of outlaws. At the heart of this grand design lay her pirate code, a meticulously crafted set of laws that transformed chaos into order. This code wasn't a whimsical tale, shared under the glow of flickering candles. It was harsh, unyielding, and upheld with unwavering resolve. Each captain and crew member understood the gravity of the situation. To transgress was to invite disgrace, and the direst of fates loomed ominously on the horizon. A notorious decree presided over the allocation of treasures. Following a raid, every piece of treasure had to be brought forth to the heart of the fleet's central storehouse. The pirate in charge claimed a 20% share, leaving the remainder to flow into the communal treasure chest in the depths of that pool. Overseen by Chung Yi Kao and her loyal officers, tapestry of intrigue unfolded, fleet maintenance, widow pensions, bribes, emergency funds, all intertwined in a delicate balance of power and necessity. To pilfer from the community was not merely looked down upon. It was a transgression that could lead to the ultimate consequence. Then arrived the essence of discipline. To defy orders in the heat of battle was a grave transgression. Those who turned their backs on their comrades or defied commands faced dire consequences: the lash, the gallows, or a plunge into the depths of the ocean. Abandonment, swift and decisive severance. The code delved into the intricacies of relationships. In the realm of swashbuckling adventures, should a pirate seize a fair maiden, he was bound by the code of honor to treat her with the utmost respect. The act of sexual assault was met with the ultimate consequence: execution by beheading. She sought not the tumult of disorder, but the steady hand of mastery, and within the lines of code she found her power. It forged a dependable framework where swashbucklers understood the code, the repercussions, and their portion. It forged a bond of loyalty not merely to Chung Yi Kao as a leader, but to the very essence of the system she represented. Remarkably, she welcomed both prisoners and coastal civilians into her ranks. In return, they were bound to pledge their allegiance to her principles. Countless souls did. Some were drawn in by trepidation, while others were captivated by reverence. Some came to realize that beneath the leadership of Chung Yi Kao, the world of piracy offered a sense of safety, greater rewards, and oddly enough, a fairer existence than that under the Qing rulers. Her influence reached far beyond the confines of the ship's decks. In the embrace of her guardianship, the coastal villages flourished, offering tribute in return for the sanctuary and freedom they cherished. Those who dared to defy met a fiery end, consumed by the flames of their rebellion. Those who yielded found themselves woven into the fabric of her expanding realm. She was more than a mere pirate. She was a ruler, and her code reigned supreme. By 1808, Chung Yi Kao's pirate empire had transformed into a formidable force on the seas. A looming danger that cast its shadow over the nation, her swift vessels ruled the South China Sea, weaving through trade routes and striking coastal towns without fear or restraint. In a moment of deep embarrassment and overwhelming pressure, the Qing dynasty found themselves compelled to respond, yet they were unprepared for the challenges that lay ahead. In a bold move, the Imperial Navy set forth on a daring campaign. Determined to vanquish the notorious pirates, the formidable armada of warships, they embarked on a relentless pursuit of Chung Yi Kao's elusive fleet. What unfolded was not a tale of swift triumphs, but rather a disheartening exhibition of imperial folly. Time and again the Navy found itself bested, outsmarted, and overshadowed by the formidable forces of Chung Yi Kao. She possessed an intimate understanding of the waters, unmatched by any other. With a keen eye for the elements, she wove together the dance of weather patterns, the embrace of island cover, the gentle caress of shallow tides to ensnare the mightier Qing ships. Her sailors moved as one, executing their maneuvers with a grace that belied their ferocity. They could seamlessly change ships in the heat of battle, drawing foes into traps with an artistry that sent shivers down spines. Time and again, whole squadrons of the Qing found themselves ensnared, their vessels seamlessly merging into the formidable Red Flag fleet. And what of the spirit? The contrast was astonishing. In a world where imperial officers frequently succumbed to corruption, underpayment, or cowardice, Chang Yicao's men stood apart. They were a formidable force, meticulously organized and fiercely loyal, united by her unwavering code and celebrated for their triumphs. As the conflicts wore on, Qing dynasty's plight became increasingly apparent. They sought the aid of European powers, particularly the Portuguese and the British, to lend their strength in naval battles. Though the foreign navies boasted ships of greater sophistication and formidable firepower, they were at a disadvantage, for they lacked the deep-rooted understanding of the waters and the unwavering camaraderie that defined Chang Yicao's fleet. Yet, the tension grew ever more intense. In the year 1809, a formidable alliance of Qing, Portuguese, and Cantonese forces encircled sections of her fleet. Even in those moments, she stood her ground, skillfully withdrawing while unleashing surprising counterattacks that left her foes in awe. She was not merely enduring. She was bringing the empire to its knees in disgrace, yet the conflict exacted a heavy toll. The relentless clash sapped strength and depleted the ranks. Even the mightiest pirate empires must eventually yield to the relentless tide of war, and as she sailed through the waves, undefeated Chang Yicao grasped a vital truth. At times, true strength lies not in conquering every battle. At times, the art lies in recognizing the moment to step back, preserving all that is dear. Her resolve was firm. She would not meet her end upon the waves, nor be shackled and taken to a Qing court. She crafted a scheme so unexpected it would surely astonish even those who opposed her. In the year 1810, Chang Yicao achieved what many deemed unachievable. She stood resolute against the formidable Qing dynasty, casting aside the pride of foreign navies, and commanded the seas with unparalleled authority. Yet, she possessed a grounded perspective. She understood that conflicts, particularly those with unending battlefields and multiplying foes, could not persist indefinitely. As resources dwindled and bonds began to fray, her once mighty fleet, though still formidable, started to bear that heavy toll of weariness. Thus she shifted her approach. Chang Yicao approached the Qing government, not to capitulate, but to present his conditions. Fearless souls. She understood the power she possessed. The Qing had been unable to conquer her through force. Their own citizens trembled at her presence, overshadowing any semblance of respect for the empire. She could negotiate not as a desperate soul pleading for clemency, but as a commanding figure of authority. She embarked on a journey to Guangzhou, navigating the waters aboard her own vessel. Flanked by a cadre of armed guards, the vibrant colors of the Red Flag fleet billowing in the wind, it was not a request, it was a bold maneuver. She sought forgiveness, not solely for her own sake, but for her whole crew as well, countless swashbucklers of the sea. She asserted her claim to preserve her fortune. She went so far as to demand that her loyal second-in-command and husband, Chang Po Sai, be bestowed. With a military rank in the Qing Navy, the government found itself in a state of disbelief. Yet beneath the surface, they too carried the weight of weariness. The empire found itself at a crossroads, unable to bear the weight of yet another expensive and protracted struggle. In a fleeting instance of clear-headedness, they reached a consensus. Chang Yicao yielded with flair. On the fateful day of April 18, 1810, she boldly guided a formidable force of over 17,000 pirates-men, women and children, alike into the heart of the city, not in chains, but in a grand procession. More than 200 ships were surrendered, weapons were ceremoniously laid down, the entire pirate confederation dissolved, all without a single drop of blood shed. There were neither trials nor executions, nor was there any forfeiture of wealth in the annals of history. Chang Po Sai emerged as a captain in the Qing Navy, a title that would shape his legacy. Chung Yi-kao stepped into retirement as a free spirit, unscathed, unconquered, and still overflowing with wealth. In a realm where the tales of pirates often culminate in treachery or demise, the saga of Chung Yi-kao unfolds with a twist of diplomacy and a graceful exit into retirement. She navigated the game with finesse, first wielding cannons, then crafting her narrative with precision. As the crimson banners fell, the tale of her legend was just starting to unfold. Many tales of pirates conclude with bloodshed, the gallows, or fading into obscurity. Yet Chung Yi-kao did not merely evade that destiny. She crafted a new existence. From it, having orchestrated the most remarkable pirate surrender ever witnessed, she strode away not as a hunted outlaw, but as a revered and affluent figure, her legacy shining brightly. In the year 1810, following the capitulation of her fleet, she made her home in Canton, known today as Guangzhou, alongside her husband, Chang Po-sai, who had taken on the role of captain in the Qing Navy. The journey from pirate queen to esteemed member of society may appear ludicrous, yet for Chung Yi-kao, it was merely another chapter in her strategic tale of survival. She embraced her life with a sense of ease, and the Qing authorities chose to overlook her presence. Instead of slipping away into the shadows, she subtly transformed into a savvy businesswoman. She established a gambling house and an opium smuggling operation, both technically illegal, yet largely ignored thanks to her considerable influence. Her aim wasn't to construct yet another grand empire, yet she was resolute in her desire to leave a lasting impression. She nurtured her relationships, safeguarded her fortune, and embraced life as she chose. Her union with Chang Po-sai stood the test of time, and together they nurtured a family. As he remained steadfast in his duties with the Qing Navy, pursuing pirates who bore a striking resemblance to their former selves, Chung Yi-kao turned his attention to the realm of commerce. In the heart of elite circles, she navigated the intricate world of maritime affairs, becoming a legendary figure whose name echoed among sailors and traders along the South China coast. What's remarkable isn't merely that she existed, but the way in which she embraced life. She shattered every expectation her society held for women. From humble beginnings, thrust into a life of exploitation, she fought fiercely to rise to the pinnacle of a ruthless, male-dominated underworld, in a twist of fate rather than meeting her end in the chaos of battle or facing the grim fate of the scaffold. She chose a path of tranquility. Passing away peacefully in 1844 at the venerable age of 69, she had no desire for redemption. It was unnecessary for her. Her existence unfolded as a bold narrative, challenging every rule, tradition, and expectation that sought to define her. In an era when women's voices were often silenced, Chung Yi-kao rose to prominence, commanding fleets, dictating treaties, and engaging in negotiations with emperors. And then she strolled away, wealthier and more liberated than any legendary pirate of the past. With her sails furled and her cannons silent, the tale of her adventures continued to resonate across the waves. In the annals of time, figures such as Blackbeard, Bartholomew Roberts, and Henry Morgan emerged from the shadows. Daring souls who traversed the Caribbean seas, leaving a trail of turmoil in their wake, only to face fateful conclusions. Yet amidst the darkness of their notoriety, there emerges Chung Yi-kao, not merely their counterpart, but a figure who eclipses them in nearly every regard. She did not steer a mere handful of vessels. She led vast armadas with unwavering authority. She refrained from raiding a handful of coastal towns. She wielded dominion over vast stretches of the ocean. And she met her end not on the gallows, nor in a fierce gunfight. She wove her way from the treacherous seas of piracy to the tranquil shores of peace. In the grand tapestry of pirate lore, she stands out as the most triumphant yet enigmatic figure of them all. Yet let there be no illusion. Her triumph was not merely a product of chance or sheer determination. It was a dance of cunning wisdom and an intricate grasp of influence. She wove her plans with precision, navigated the intricate dance of politics, and delved into the depths of the human mind. She understood the art of maintaining loyalty, not just through fear, but also by establishing order, offering rewards, and weaving a meticulously designed system. What set her apart was her remarkable ability to accomplish all of this as a woman in Qing-era China. It's a time when Confucian ideals held sway, relegating women to the shadows of silence and servitude. In a world where the marketplace was dominated by men, the idea of women taking charge, especially on the tumultuous high seas, was almost unthinkable. Chang Yi Cao didn't merely question that norm. She broke it apart entirely. She commanded the admiration of fierce pirate captains, compelled the Qing dynasty to engage in negotiations, and concluded her journey as a savvy business owner and matriarch. She carved her own path. Unbound by the shadows of a man's legacy, she embraced it, wove it into her narrative, and transformed it into something uniquely hers. In the collective imagination, she lingers as a shadow, overshadowed by her male peers, less celebrated in the tales of the West and frequently left out of the broader narrative of history. Yet in the realms of seafaring tales and the rich tapestry of Chinese coastal legends, she is revered with a sense of wonder. The Red Flag Fleet may have disappeared, its sails forever stilled. Yet the memory of Cheng Yi Cao endures like a phantom vessel, quiet, elusive, and grander than existence itself. More than a mere pirate, more than a woman, she is a legend that brought empires to their knees. In a realm dominated by men, she didn't merely seek a seat at the table. She claimed the vastness of the ocean itself, though she led the most formidable pirate fleet the world has ever known. Chang Yi Cao remains an elusive figure in the annals of mainstream history. Her legacy, vast and profound, has been shrouded in mystery, eclipsed by tales of Western pirates, and hidden beneath the weight of colonial narratives, gender biases, and political unease. What is the reason behind this? For her tale defies the conventional narrative. She was not a sorrowful figure of darkness like Blackbeard. She did not meet her end on the battlefield. She hailed from a different land altogether. And most formidable of all, she was a woman who outmaneuvered an empire. Such a force shakes the foundations of the tidy, male-centric tales that historians have traditionally favored in the annals of Chinese history. She's depicted more as a challenge overcome than as a figure of valor. The shadows of the Qing dynasty there lingered, a reluctance to honor her presence. They sought to erase her from their memories. In the end, she unveiled their maritime vulnerability, challenged the might of the empire, and strolled away unscathed. Even amidst triumph, she remained a source of shame for the crown. Western historians encountered similar challenges for ages. The allure of piracy has been painted in vivid strokes, filled with tales of peg legs, rum, parrots, and the thrill of plunder. Zhen Yisao defied that image. She didn't embody the daring spirit of adventure. She possessed a keen sense of strategy. Her battles were not for the sake of fame. She wove a tale of ambition and influence. Her life was not taken by the state. She engaged in a clever dance of words and emerged victorious. And for many narrators, that lacked thrill. It was quite the hassle. Yet in the unfolding chapters of recent decades, her legend has found new life. Scholars, feminist historians, and pirate enthusiasts have embarked on a journey to revive her legacy. Restoring her rightful place in the grand narrative of maritime power, documentaries, historical novels, and even video games have begun to weave the tale of the pirate queen of the South China Sea into their narratives. Yet a veil of enigma continues to envelop her existence. Her true name has faded into obscurity. Her voice echoes through the accounts of those who opposed her. Captured by the perspectives of Qing officials, foreign sailors, and later European observers. Yet the fragments we possess are sufficient to craft the outline of a giant. She was a force of nature. Defying expectations and reshaping the narrative, she was a woman who remained indifferent to its existence. Zheng Yusao forged her own path to power, unbound by the world's approval. She seized power, mastering it with skill, and slipped into the annals of history, leaving behind a legacy of wealth, authority, and dignity unmatched by any pirate, regardless of gender, before or after. She remained vibrant. She vanished into the ether, Yet as fate would have it, tales of old always return to us. Zhang Yusa chose not to don a crown. There was no necessity for her to do so. Her power was not derived from a crown or noble lineage. It emerged from authority, from reverence, from trepidation, from countless voices echoing her commands across the waters. In every true sense of the term, she reigned as a queen, a sovereign, of a realm unconfined by borders, flags, or defined lands. Her realm was the South China Sea, with influence extending from the Gulf of Tonkin to the coastlines of Guangdong. She crafted a creation unlike any that had come before or would come again. Her band of pirates was more than mere outlaws. Unfolded with purpose, carefully orchestrated dance of strategy and execution, in a realm where even the mighty Qing Empire faltered. She wielded power over trade routes, crafted laws that shaped society, forged treaties that bound nations, and upheld a sense of order that resonated throughout the land. Her vessels were not mere wayward marauders, they were grand armadas. Her captains were not mere wanderers, they held the title of officers. Her kin were not outlaws. In a realm above the clouds, they belonged to a nation that danced upon the waters of the sky. And yet what renders her legacy truly unparalleled is not merely her ascent, but the way she departed. Many tales of pirates conclude with flames and binding ties. The tale of Zhang Yusao concludes with a masterful negotiation, a graceful retirement, and the accumulation of great wealth. She chose not to sink with her vessel. She descended from it, untouched, resolute, and firmly grasping the purse strings. When she took her final breath in 1844, she had achieved what no pirate, no emperor, no general had ever accomplished before. She turned her back on absolute power willingly, preserving the essence of her legend. In this day and age are but a handful of monuments that carry her name. There is neither a grand palace nor a statue standing in the square. Yet her essence lingers over the South China Sea, a tempestuous shadow that refuses to dissipate. In the murmurs of seafarers, in the writings of defiant women, in the souls of those who grasp that true leadership stems not from lineage, but from determination. Zhang Yusao embodied the essence of boldness, showing that true greatness forges its own path without seeking approval. In a realm designed to stifle the voices of women, there exists a singular voice, piercing, calculated, and resolute, capable of commanding an empire. She reigned with unwavering confidence. With unwavering resolve, she engaged in battle. And she stepped away, her record untarnished. A tale not woven from myth or legend, but of a woman who triumphed over the sea, stepping away just before it could claim her. Though her sails have vanished, her silhouette continues to dance upon the waves.